A once bustling metropolis now lay in ruins, its shattered concrete and rubble like bleeding wounds on the body of humanity. But no one could have foreseen that during an excavation at a mysterious site, scientists would unwittingly awaken an ancient curse, unleashing an unstoppable apocalyptic plague. From deep fissures in the earth, a grotesque crimson marrow gushed forth, spreading rapidly, engulfing both towering skyscrapers and long, desolate streets, trapping the unfortunate souls in its path. Some went mad, roaring like wild beasts. Others collapsed instantly, their eyes wide open, unable to even blink. Most other creatures mutated into bizarre monsters. Their forms were horrifying, possessing strange powers as if torn from the most terrifying of nightmares. Wherever these monsters appeared, the city was left in ruins. As for the people, they could only flee in panic. Screams of pain and horror spread everywhere, like an invisible plague clinging to every soul beneath the grim gray sky. Combat helicopters roared violently overhead, frantically dropping bombs to wipe out the swarm of monsters. Boom! A bomb exploded and a ferocious fire engulfed a corner of the horizon. Billowing smoke obscured all vision. As the smoke slowly cleared, a lone figure appeared amidst the ashes. It was a young man, his eyes bloodshot, whispering a familiar name. Xiao Shui. Around him, the monsters bared their sharp fangs and claws, growling as they lunged towards the boy, suddenly enraged, a violent bloodlust flashing in their eyes. A roar tore through the air. Xiao Shui, where are you? The blood scent in his body erupted. His hands deformed into razor-sharp claws, and with a furious howl, he ripped apart each blood wolf that pounced on him. Blood splattered, each drop landing with a thud on the stained ground. When he came to his senses, only a cold, desolate scene remained. Not a single trace of any monster was left. The young man stood frozen, his voice breaking as he repeated over and over, Xiao Shui, where are you? He staggered through the rubble, calling her name as he went, the echoes only shattering his heart further. Suddenly, on the broken path, a worn-out cloth doll lay abandoned. He stopped, fell to his knees, and with a trembling hand reached out to touch the doll's face, whispering softly, Xiao Shui, Shui. In that instant, his monstrous claws suddenly vanished, leaving behind the ordinary hands of a mortal. The boy jolted, then broke into heart-wrenching sobs, tears of blood streaming down his face. They mixed with his tears, staining his entire face red. He knelt amidst the devastation, threw his head back, and screamed, a cry that tore through the bleak sky. Where are you? 3 days earlier. On every street, loudspeakers blared continuously. Attention, citizens! An unusual red fog has appeared in many areas. Please do not panic and try to remain indoors. Avoid going out unless absolutely necessary. Inside their cozy family car, Yan Hao and his little sister Xiao Shui were dozing off. Before they could fall into a deep sleep, they were awoken by a loud banging on the windshield. Outside, a soldier with a grim face shouted, "Move your vehicle! Immediately! Right now!" Yan Hao rubbed his eyes and muttered, "The military." His father, gripping the steering wheel, cursed irritably, "You can't believe a single word those damn politicians say. They've had to deploy the entire army and still dare to call this a natural disaster?" Hearing this, Xiao Shui shivered and pressed closer into her brother's arms, her voice trembling like a mosquito's buzz. "Brother, I'm scared." Yan Hao held his sister tighter, comforting her gently. "It's okay. We're all here with you." But deep in his heart, a wave of anxiety was rising, a commotion this huge. What in the world was that damn crimson marrow? At that very moment, a deafening explosion echoed from the overpass above. A car was thrown into the air, flipping over the railing. Then it plunged straight down onto the road below, right into traffic. What the hell was that? Yan Hao, terrified, threw himself over Xiao Shui and yelled, "Get down! Now!" Crunch! The falling car slammed into their family car, crushing both vehicles like wads of paper. Yan Hao lifted his head, looked around in a panic, and called out, "Mom! Dad! Are you two okay?" His father, in the driver's seat, had blood trickling from his forehead. His voice was hoarse. My leg is stuck." His mother coughed violently a few times, trying to stay calm. What on earth just happened? Instantly, a ferocious, beastly roar echoed in their ears, making the air thick and heavy. Everyone froze like statues. Xiao Shui stared in horror through the windshield, while Yan Hao was rooted to the spot. What is that thing? Before them, a giant monster, like a demon from hell, was roaring as soldiers frantically fired at it. The sound of gunfire was relentless, but the beast stood tall, unfazed. Yanhao's voice cracked as he screamed, "What the hell is that thing?" All around them, people were scattering in chaos. Screams echoed throughout the neighborhood. "Run! Monsters! There are monsters over there!" The father, frantic with panic, yelled, "Hurry! Get out of the car!" Yanhao used all his strength to kick the car door open, then pulled Xiao Shui out, struggling to crawl free. He tried to turn back to break the door on the passenger side where his mother was trapped, but all his efforts were in vain. She gritted her teeth, her eyes glistening with tears, and said hoarsely, "Take your sister and go." "Don't worry about us! No, I'll get you guys out!" Yanhao practically roared. Just then, a blood-curdling scream erupted nearby. "Help me!" A passerby had been bitten by a monster. Blood splattered everywhere. Xiao Shui shrank back in terror, her mouth covered, her shoulders trembling uncontrollably. Her mother gripped her son's hand, her voice choked with bitterness. "Go now! Don't let anything happen to your sister!" His father, despite his face being covered in blood, managed a weak smile, passing on a heavy burden with his words. "Step up and take responsibility like a man. You're her older brother." His mother, tears welling in her eyes, her voice breaking into a sob, pleaded, "Take good care of Xiao Shui, please." Before Yanhao could utter a word, with a deafening crash, the giant beast slammed down onto the roof of the car. The horrific pressure caved the frame in, then sent it flying, throwing him and Xiao Shui far into the distance. They were thrown into the chaotic vortex of a living hell. The wolf-like beast let out an earth-shattering howl, its blood-red eyes fixed on the two stunned siblings. The car was completely destroyed. Yanhao and Xiao Shui screamed in unison, "Mom! Dad!" Before the sound faded, the wolf bared its maw, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth that glinted coldly. Yanhao quickly grabbed his sister's hand. "Run!" Shou Shu, still in a state of utter shock, ran while sobbing for her parents. High above, the helicopters were swarmed by winged beasts. The sounds of explosions and roars mingled in a chaotic symphony. One by one, the aircraft shattered like fragile toys. Below, the city was completely swallowed by the scarlet biomass. Humans and animals alike had gone mad. They tore each other to pieces in a bloodthirsty frenzy. Amidst the overwhelming chaos, only two small figures remained, running for their lives. Yanhao still couldn't comprehend what this disaster was, but his instincts screamed at him that he had to protect his sister's life at all costs. The two siblings ducked into a deserted supermarket hoping to find temporary shelter, and so, a giant shadow stalked them from within the pitch-black space. The mutated wolf growled menacingly, its sharp claws scraping across the concrete floor with a chilling screech. I huddled behind a wall in a hidden corner. Yanhao clutched Xiao Shui tightly, one hand covering my mouth. We both held our breath, our hearts pounding like war drums. But only after a long while, when the heavy footsteps gradually faded, did Yanhao dare to peek out, whispering in relief, "It's gone." However, before he could relax, Xiao Shui's face suddenly flushed red as strange crimson patterns spread across it. She clutched her head in pain, her voice weak and trembling. "Brother, I feel so sick." "Xiao Shui, what's wrong with you?" Yanhao was horrified. He accidentally caught his own reflection in a broken piece of mirror nearby. The exact same red patterns were crawling across his own skin. What is this? Could it be from breathing in too much of that red mist? Gritting his teeth, Yanhao quickly soaked a cloth in water and handed it to his sister. "Quick! Use this to cover your nose and mouth!" He was so worried about her that he forgot about himself, letting the crimson veins crawl all over his face. His eyes burned like fire from deep within, his body trembled violently, and his right hand twitched uncontrollably as if some vicious thing was trying to claw its way out. "Brother, what's wrong with you?" Shou Shuk burst into tears, her gaze filled with fear as she looked at her brother. Yanhao gritted his teeth to comfort her, even as his own arm trembled. "It's nothing. I'm fine." But deep in his heart, he was screaming in agony. "Stop it!" But the sound from the two of them had already reached the mutated wolf's ears. It whipped its head around, its heavy footsteps closing in on their corner. Yanhao desperately clutched his rebellious hand, his face contorted in stress. "This is bad. It found us." Brother, please don't scare me." Xiao Shui trembled, clinging tightly to her brother's arm as the wolf drew closer. Darkness enveloped the two siblings. With no way out, Yan Hao pulled his sister and bolted out of the supermarket. But before they could even take a breath, a gigantic mutated bird swooped down right in front of them, blocking their only escape. Behind them, the wolf with its jagged teeth gave chase. Yan Hao panted in despair, and then another one appeared. "Brother, what do we do now?" Shoshu asked softly. But Yan Hao just held his sister, his voice hoarse. "Don't be scared. I'm here." And in that very second, the ground trembled violently. A colossal shadow descended from the sky, its body coiling like a dragon, covered in gleaming metallic scales. It towered right behind the two siblings. The terrifying pressure and presence it exuded made both the wolf and the bird beast back away, growling warily. Yan Hao looked up, his heart clenching in pain. "Is this really how we die today?" Yan Hao hurriedly pulled his sister back into the supermarket, his breathing ragged. "Back inside!" he gasped repeatedly. "But—" Xiao Shui started to ask worriedly, but before she could finish, a mutated wolf appeared before them. It was growling, staring intently at the siblings. Yan Hao bent down and grabbed a wooden plank from the floor, his eyes steely. "It's even more dangerous outside. We just have to risk it." With that, he charged forward, swinging the plank straight at the wolf's skull. But the monster simply clamped down with its jaws, crushing the plank like a dry twig. It opened its fang-filled maw and lunged at his head. "It's over." The thought flashed through his mind in that split second between life and death. Yan Hao gritted his teeth and used his arms and legs to brace against those enormous jaws, but the difference in strength was too vast. He was thrown back instantly, his back slamming hard into a supermarket shelf with a loud crash. In that same moment, whoosh! An arrow suddenly flew through the air and buried itself deep in the wolf's eye socket. It shrieked in pain, staggering backward. Yan Hao turned his head in astonishment to see Xiao Shui trembling as she held a crossbow, her eyes red. "Brother, are you okay?" "You're helping me, Xiao Shui." He choked out her name, but before he could finish, the wolf ignored him, turning and charging furiously toward the little girl. "Run!" he screamed. Xiao Shui obeyed at once, immediately turning and running for her life. Behind her, her brother's voice echoed, "Don't look back!" He coughed violently, fresh blood spurting from the corner of his mouth. A torrent of vital energy surged through his veins. Livid red veins bulged across his face, and his entire body shook. He then let out a guttural growl of absolute despair. Why did this calamity have to strike at this very moment? In the distance, Xiao Shui, sobbing as she ran, accidentally tripped over an obstacle and fell face first onto the cold cement floor. "Xiao Shui!" Yan Hao couldn't bear to watch for another second. He roared, his hand tightening and crushing a chunk of the concrete wall. Then, with all his might, he tore it free. Crash! The entire section of wall collapsed, crushing the mutated wolf beneath it amidst a heaven-shaking rage. Yan Hao leaped onto the pile of rubble, his bloodlust exploding violently. He snatched a broken iron bar, his eyes blazing red, his teeth grinding together. "Die, you bastard, just die for me!" He plunged the sharp end of the bar deep into the wolf's skull. Blood gushed out, splattering and staining his entire body red. But Yan Hao was oblivious, continuing to stab again and again in a frenzy. He screamed as tears streamed down his face. "Kill! Kill! Kill you! Die! Die!" "Brother! Brother!" Xiao Shui trembled as she watched her brother fall into a trance-like state, her own tears falling like rain. She rushed forward and hugged his blood-soaked arm, sobbing and pleading, "Brother, what's wrong with you?" "Please stop. Don't be like this. I'm okay now. Please don't be like this anymore." Yan Hao suddenly froze. The crazed look in his eyes slowly subsided as fragments of memory flooded his mind like an old film. His mother's plea, "Go, now!" His father's deep voice, "You're the big brother. You have to take responsibility like a man." Then his mother's choked voice through the illusion of bones, "Take good care of Xiao Shui." He could still faintly hear his father's loving scolding. "No matter where that stinky brat of ours is, you have to live a good life. Little Hao, you and Xiao Shui must live well, you hear?" The hazy sounds mingled with his sister's trembling calls. "Brother, but brother, please don't be like this." Consciousness slowly returned. Yan Hao panted, his voice hoarse as he called out, "Xiao Shui." She looked up, her eyes glistening with tears. "Brother." He forced a pained smile, trying to reassure her. "Sorry for making you worry." Are you okay now?" Xiao Shui asked softly, her hands still clinging to him tightly. Before he could answer, a terrifying crash echoed. The supermarket's glass door shattered into pieces as the giant mutated bird swooped in, its beak wide open as if to swallow them both whole. Quick as a flash, Yan Hao wrapped his arms around Xiao Shui and dove to the side. Shards of glass rained down, nearly taking their lives. The monster bird flapped its enormous wings, its shriek shaking the entire supermarket. It narrowed its vicious eyes, fixing them on the two juicy morsels right under its nose. Yan Hao tightened his grip on the iron bar, a fierce light glinting in his eyes. He stepped forward, shielding his sister, and roared, "You damn bird, stay away from my sister!" He actually managed to throw it. The mutated bird was flung out of the supermarket as dust and debris flew everywhere. Yan Hao whispered softly, his voice firm. "Xiao Shui, you hide in here for now. I'll go out and deal with those monsters. I'll go alone. Don't you worry." He glanced outside, his eyes cold and sharp. "That huge monster is targeting us. I have to lure it away." Xiao Tuit hugged her brother, her eyes welling with tears. "Brother, don't go. I'm scared. I'm scared you'll become like you were before." Yan Hao smiled, gently stroking her head. "Don't worry. I won't lose control this time. Just stay here and wait for me. I'll be back to get you soon, okay?" Xiao Tiet bit her lip, forcing him to make a promise. "You have to swear to me. Swear that you'll come back safe." Yan Hao smiled, a bit forced, but his eyes were burning with determination. "Of course, I will definitely come back for you." In an instant, a figure burst through the supermarket wall, hurtling out of the dust cloud, Yan Hao clutching a steel pipe in his hand. A brilliant crimson energy surged through his body. He whispered, as if to himself, "If I'm not mistaken, hunting these mutant beasts and absorbing their blood energy will make me stronger and stronger. If I can just take down that giant monster, I'll have enough power to protect the people I love." He raised his head, staring down the mutant beast before him, his eyes blazing with fury. "Then, you can just die." The mutant beast only responded with a contemptuous, challenging roar. With a thunderous bellow, 7 mutated wolves charged ferociously at him. Yan Hao gritted his teeth, a savage grin spreading across his face. "Hey, so I'm not even worthy of you fighting me yourself? Fine. Then let's see how I slaughter all of your little pets first." He swung the steel pipe, shattering the first wolf's skull in a single blow, then the second with another strike splattering blood everywhere, but the third one pounced unexpectedly from behind, sinking its teeth into his weapon arm. Yan Hao growled through clenched teeth, "You goddamn animals!" Both his arms suddenly mutated into gigantic claws. They were razor-sharp and ice-cold. In the blink of an eye, he tore the wolf to shreds, then threw his head back and laughed wildly. "Ha ha 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 ha! So this is power? It's incredible!" Just then, the roar of an engine echoed from above. A military helicopter streaked across the gray sky. The mutant beast leader froze, looking up to observe it, then let out a deafening roar. The sound vibrated through the air, making the ground shake violently. It beat its wings, soaring into the air, and vanished. Yan Hao stood there, stunned, the crazed look in his eyes slowly fading, replaced by confusion and horror. He mumbled, What have I become? Why is this happening?" In that very second, a bomb plummeted from the sky, aimed directly at where he was standing. "Brother!" Xiao Tuet heard the strange noise. She rushed outside in a panic. "Brother, are you okay?" Yan Hao desperately screamed, "Xiao Tuet, don't come out here!" Boom! A world-shaking explosion erupted, a blinding light swallowing everything. On the military helicopter, the commander's voice rang out cold and flat. "There are still survivors down there. Get down and check, now. The monsters are about to return." But in a dream, a blazing fire was burning everything to ashes. Yan Hao saw Xiao Tuet, sobbing. His sister's voice broke with pain. "Brother, why?" Her fragile figure was surrounded by a sea of ferocious flames, her young face full of blame. "Why didn't you come save me?" Yan Hao frantically reached out to grab her, but his sister's slender arm was quickly swallowed by the fierce fire. Even his own hand began to sink into the searing sea of flames. A chilling despair pierced through his chest. "Xiao Tuet!" he screamed in agony. Immediately after, Yan Hao jolted awake, his hand still suspended, trembling in mid-air. He clutched his head and gasped, his eyes revealing complete exhaustion and helplessness. Damn it, that dream again. A dull ache gripped his heart. "Xiao Tuet, It's been half a year. Where in the world are you? He slowly stood up, picked up his rusty gun, and walked outside. As he moved, he clenched his fist, the one that had once revealed that monstrous form. Thankfully, it was normal today. The desolate city spread out before him, its ruins like giant wounds, scarred deep into the earth. Yan Hao quietly recalled that day when Xiao Tuet was taken away by those cold-hearted soldiers. He had scoured every refugee camp in the area, but his sister was still missing, gone without a trace, as if she had vanished into a mist of blood and gore. To get a chance to search for clues, Yan Hao was forced to enlist, becoming the strongest soldier in the border patrol unit. But in these chaotic times, only by wearing a soldier's uniform was he allowed to gather information and move freely. The unit's barracks were at a border outpost in Akai City. Yan Hao rushed over, stopping in front of his captain, panting. "Captain, sorry I'm late for my shift." A nearby soldier snorted with contempt. "Tisk, it's this useless rookie again." Jae-gun, the hot-tempered captain, immediately planted a kick on Yan Hao's rear, growling, "You idiot! Where were you slacking off this time, huh? You were supposed to be on watch. Look how many minutes late you are." Yan Hao rubbed his rear, wincing and groaning. "My bad. I was totally wrong." After that, he was sent up to the towering watchtower to stand guard. Down below, Jia-jun wasn't done with him, yelling as if scolding a child. "Listen up, Yan Hao. Some important people will be coming through soon. If they pass through without any trouble, we get to end our shift early, got it?" He shouted back down, "Yes, loud and clear." Jia-jun added another threat to make sure. "And if you dare cause any trouble with this, I'll have your hide." Standing on the towering watchtower, Yan Hao scanned the distant horizon. The cityscape came into view, a vast wasteland, with collapsed buildings that looked like broken skeletons. 6 months ago, a bizarre scarlet mist erupted, engulfing most cities and turning bustling metropolises into deserts of death. Along with it, a mysterious crimson tower rose from the ground. It brought with it countless giant monsters that swarmed in the mist. The survivors, if they wanted to keep living, could only hide in the remote borderlands, staying far away from that mist and that tower. Yan Hao narrowed his eyes as a chilling thought crossed his mind. That giant beast from that day. Is it still lurking in that boneyard of death? Down below, Jia Tuan was taking a drag from his cigarette, boasting to his men. They were all laughing uproariously as if death itself had never visited this place. "Yeah, the special response team is already posted outside, so our guard duty here is pretty much just for show. If even they can't handle it, what can low-level grunts like us possibly do?" Another guy immediately shot back in surprise. "That's the famous special ops team. How could they possibly fail?" "Yeah, Captain, you've got to be kidding." Unbidden, an image surfaced in the soldiers' minds. Their heroic, proud female captain, standing defiantly atop a pile of grotesque monster corpses, her gaze as cold as frost. But the memory from their march here was still burned into their minds. That task force had effortlessly crushed the horde of mutabeasts like stepping on a few tiny ants. At the top of the watchtower, Ngim Hao sat in silence. His vacant gaze drifted down to the vast red mist. He whispered, his voice laced with bitterness. "Just as I thought. After all this time, I still despise the smell of this red mist. It awakens the primal, bloodthirsty instincts in all creatures, driving them into a frenzy of tearing each other apart." Suddenly, the distant blood essence tower flashed and then went dark. Ngim Hao shot up, his entire body tense and on high alert. "Huh? Did the red mist just disappear?" "No, that's not right. Something is charging towards us." At the foot of the tower, a frantic guard screamed, "Captain, we've got a situation! Look!" But Jia Tuan was just sitting there casually, one leg crossed over the other. He let out a long yawn and waved a dismissive hand. What's the matter now? Making a mountain out of a molehill again? But in the next instant, he leaped to his feet, his face as white as a sheet. "Wait a minute! Why is the blood mist surging back this way?" From within the thick mist, 2 figures in specialized protective gear sprinted for their lives. "Captain, it's the special ops team." Jia Tuan strode forward, demanding of the officer. "What in the hell happened?" The man, panting heavily, replied urgently, "Fall back." Before he could finish, a dark shadow lunged from the mist and tore them both to shreds. Terrified, Jia Tuan grabbed his radio, his hands trembling as he screamed, "Everyone retreat! Retreat now!" But before the call was even finished, a giant claw seized him by the collar and hoisted him into the air. "No!" Before everyone's eyes, a colossal crimson mutabeast emerged. It looked like a blood wolf god, growling fiercely amidst the thick mist as Jiatuan dangled helplessly in midair. He struggled in utter despair. "It's over. I'm done for." From high above, Ngim Hao watched in silence as pathetic screams echoed endlessly from the red mist below. He narrowed his eyes and, without another moment's hesitation, leaped down from the watchtower. Crash! A shocking impact reverberated as Ngim Hao stomped hard on the back of a mutabeast, instantly crushing its spine. When he straightened up, his hands had transformed into terrifyingly sharp claws. His eyes glowed with a pungent crimson light as he mentally counted 1. A mutabeast beside him opened its massive jaws, about to swallow him whole. Ngim Hao just casually swung his hand. In a flash, he sliced its head in 2. Each time he took down a mutabeast, his claws would silently absorb its blood essence, causing the power in his body to surge intensely. Ngim Hao smiled, the corner of his mouth twisting into a dangerous smirk. Very good. After absorbing this one, my powers increased a little. So, what if I add a few more? The pack of mutabeasts growled, surrounding him, as Ngim Hao continued his silent count. 3, 4, 5, 6. His body blazed. His blood essence was like a crimson flame in the mist. Ngim Hao licked his lips, a cocky grin on his face. "Don't you dare disappoint me." Suddenly, a bright bolt of plasma pierced through the body of a mutabeast behind him. Startled, Ngim Hao jerked his head up to see a faint figure emerging from the mist. It was a young woman with platinum blonde hair and eyes as cold as frozen bone. Her commanding presence was suffocating. It was none other than the captain of the border operations team, Tong Ni. Ngim Hao's heart skipped a beat. He cursed internally. "Damn it, it's the special response team again." As the red mist gradually faded, it revealed his deformed hands. "Shit!" Ngim Hao quickly wiped his sweat, hastily trying to revert back to his human form. Tong Yi spoke, her voice icy as she commanded her subordinate. "Leave none of them alive. Wipe them out." The heavily armed team members shouted in unison. They charged forward, unleashing a barrage of gunfire on the mutabeast pack. But right after that, their gun barrels swiveled in unison, aiming straight at Ngim Hao. He quickly raised both hands and yelled, "Don't shoot! I'm a low-ranking soldier from the patrol team!" Before he could finish, the order to fire rang out. 12 o'clock, open fire! The sound of a gunshot echoed. A mutabeast behind Ngim Hao collapsed. He glanced back and let out a sigh of relief, but a cold sweat still ran down his back. 2 team members quickly reported, "Target eliminated." Tong Ni approached, holding a long rifle, her sharp gaze sweeping over Ngim Hao. "Where is your weapon, patrolman?" Ngim Hao's heart sank. He cursed internally. "This is bad." A soldier spoke into his radio. "All units withdraw from the outpost immediately. Return to the temporary defensive line. Without a direct order from Commander Tong, absolutely no one is permitted to enter or leave this area." Inside the spacious command tent, the air was as taut as a fully drawn bowstring. Commander Tong Ni's cold eyes scanned the ranks of soldiers, her voice low and deep, but it radiated an irresistible authority. Outpost Alpha casualties total 37. From the Red Blood team, 2 are dead. From the patrol team, 30 are dead. She paused for a moment, her voice growing even heavier. "This is the personnel loss report for this unexpected incident." Beside her, Ngim Hao couldn't contain his anger upon hearing this. He suddenly shot to his feet, his voice filled with outrage. "Then why are you detaining me? I'm a victim too!" Tong Yi didn't rush to answer. Her sharp, knife-like eyes bored into him. "At 17:23, you left your post without authorization for 2 full hours. Shortly after you returned, the entire outpost erupted into chaos. Don't you think you owe us an explanation?" A cold sweat broke out on Ngim Hao's brow, his mind racing through dozens of excuses. Finally, he gritted his teeth and picked the one that sounded the most plausible. I just dozed off for a bit in the nearby ruins, but I already reported it to the captain." Before things could even settle down, a soldier raised his hand to report to the commander, "That guy is always late for every mission, and the captain has covered for him many times." Hearing that, Yan Hao immediately shot him a piercing glare. "You bastard! If you dare make another false accusation, I'll strangle you right here." The soldier, frozen stiff by Yan Hao's aggressive demeanor, stammered, You don't threaten me! I didn't mean to speak ill of the captain." Song Yi crossed her arms, raising an eyebrow and declaring in an icy tone, "It seems your patrol team has a lot of issues." At that very moment, in the field infirmary, Jia-jun, the patrol team captain, let out an earth-shattering sneeze. The soldier next to him asked in alarm, "Captain, are you okay?" The nearby doctor shrugged nonchalantly and replied, "He won't die. All his vitals are normal." The soldier's eyes widened. "Doctor, are you sure? An injury like that is considered normal?" Lying on the bed, Jia-jun wished he could just bang his head against the wall. Damn it! Getting thrown by a mutant beast and nearly breaking a bone is still considered normal? Back in the interrogation tent, Song-yi opened a file. Her voice was steady but laced with suspicion. "Your file clearly states you only completed basic training 3 months ago. The recent battle, even our special response team lost 2 people, and yet you, a low-ranking soldier, survived." Yanhao lowered his head, deliberately putting on a pathetic act. I'm terrified of dying. I was on the track team back in school, so I can run a bit faster than most. The moment I saw the Crimson Bones coming, I just ran first." Song-yi stared intently, her gaze seeming to pierce right through him. "You're that afraid of dying? Then why join the army? Or do you have another motive?" Yanhao fell silent at her words. He lowered his head, lost in thought. "If I tell them the truth, that I'm here to find my little sister, will they even believe me? Or will they just think I'm a spy? For the past half a year searching for Xiao Shui, I've relentlessly killed and absorbed low-level mutant beasts, gradually learning to control my beast transformation and revert to my human form. For the past 6 months, I've been like a lone wolf, avoiding crowds, foolishly scouring every last human settlement and ruin I could find." Song-yi crossed her arms, her eyes as cold as ice. Her stern voice echoed through the cramped tent. "As a soldier, you cling to life, fear death, abandon your post, and fail to report a known danger. Do you have any idea what the consequences for that are?" Yanhao looked up, forcing a smile. His voice held a hint of defiance. "So does that mean you're going to have me executed?" Song-yi took a step closer, leaning in to whisper cautiously by his ear. "What's the deal with your hands?" Hearing that, Yanhao's heart sank. He cursed inwardly. So she did see it after all. Song-yi's gaze sharpened as she pressed him relentlessly. "Why did you spin all those lies? What's your real objective?" Before Yanhao could even think of an excuse, the ground suddenly began to shake violently. "Earthquake!" Song-yi yelled. But Yanhao's brow furrowed. That familiar feeling sent a chill down his spine. "No, that's not it." "This isn't an earthquake. It's a horde of mutant beasts approaching. Run, hurry up!" "You dare run right in front of me?" Song-yi roared, furious at being completely ignored. She lunged, grabbing Yanhao's collar and slamming him flat on his back. As dust billowed, a nearby soldier, his face drained of color, yelled, "Commander, the ground is breaking apart. Please take it easy, or we're all going to collapse for real." With a loud crack, the ground beneath them suddenly gave way, plunging them all into pitch-black darkness. "Help, where are we? Did we fall underground?" Song-yi quickly regained her composure and ordered, "It's too dark. Get some lights on, now!" One soldier replied quickly, "Yes, Commander," while another mumbled, "He's a walking disaster. Trouble follows him wherever he goes." Yanhao shot him a sarcastic look. "What's the point of whining? Let's worry about getting out of here alive first." The soldier asked skeptically, "Are you saying we're not getting out?" Yanhao shrugged. "Not necessarily, but it's no guarantee." As the lights flared to life, the scene around them left everyone stunned. The cliff faces were carved with countless tunnels, forming a gigantic labyrinth. They were clearly marked with the impressions of claws and fangs. A soldier stammered, Is this a labyrinth dug out by mutant beasts?" Song-yi nodded, her voice as hard as steel. "Everyone stay calm, check your weapons, and hold formation. Don't leave any openings." "Wait!" Suddenly, Yanhao turned his head slightly. His sharp eyes scanned the distance. "Hold on. I hear wind from that direction." Hearing this, the patrol soldier was overjoyed and shouted, "Wind! That means there must be a way out!" "Let me go check." Yanhao frowned, about to stop him, but before he could speak, the man had already bolted. From a distance, the soldier yelled, "Commander! There really is wind. There's definitely an exit up ahead." Just as the team started to celebrate, Song-yi suddenly screamed, "Everyone, get down!" As the words left her mouth, a monster's head exploded. "Get away from there now! The fluid from those armored beetles is highly corrosive. Don't let it touch you." A sizzling sound echoed from the darkness, and the acrid burning smell that followed sent a chill down everyone's spine. Song-yi commanded sternly, "Without my direct order, absolutely no one moves." The patrol soldier, drenched in sweat, yelled in a shaky voice, "Yes, Commander! You seem to be quite skilled at avoiding danger, Yanhao. When we get out of here, you're going to explain everything to me." Hearing this, Yanhao said nothing, his mind erasing with tangled thoughts. She knows my secret but won't confront me directly. What is she up to? A soldier whispered, "What's that noise?" "Something's coming." As the words were spoken, a horde of mutant beasts flooded out of the darkness like a raging river, their vicious red eyes gleaming. The patrol soldiers instantly panicked. While some raised their guns with trembling hands, others instinctively took a step back. One guy screamed, his voice breaking in horror, "Damn it! How can there be so many of these bugs?" Gimhao's brow furrowed deeply, his gaze sweeping over the grotesque, swarming bodies. He let out a soft sigh, full of both resentment and resignation. That's it, then. We're in big trouble this time. 7 aberrant beasts shrieked wildly and charged, attacking wave after wave like a surging black tide. The terrified patrol soldiers fired frantically at the monsters while hastily retreating into the tunnel ahead. Gimhao glanced back and roared at Tongyi, "Don't stop! Keep running! Do you want to be their bait?" The whole squad rushed deep into the tunnel, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. At that moment, Gimhao whispered, his voice full of suspicion, "It seems those bugs have stopped. Look ahead, quick!" There was something huge in front of them. A giant spider crawled out, its massive body covered in glossy black fur and surrounded by a crimson carapace that reeked like blood. Its eyes blazed with a brutal crimson light. A soldier trembled violently and stammered, That's an overlord, class! It's an overlord!" Gimhao immediately recognized a strange sign. He hurriedly warned, "It's absorbing the crimson carapace. Be on guard. If it finishes digesting that stuff, we'll be dead in an instant." The spider opened its terrifying mouth wide. It swallowed the crimson carapace whole. But Gimhao's face darkened, and he roared, "This is bad. It has converted the crimson carapace into energy. Everyone, prepare for battle." Without hesitation, Tongyi immediately raised her gun and opened fire on the spider. The monster counterattacked fiercely. It spat out a swirling beam of crimson power, as if intending to crush all creation. The bullets and the energy wave passed each other in midair. The giant spider took the hit. The shots left a deep crack on its iron-like shell, but the energy blast continued hurtling toward Tongyi. Gimhao yelled, "Get out of the way!" But she stood frozen, her reaction a moment too late. In that life-or-death instant, Gimhao rushed forward, using his deformed hand to block the attack. The roiling heat and pressure made the ground shake. Tongyi looked at him, her voice trembling. "Gimhao, you—" He cut her off, his gaze steady. "Wait until we get out of here alive, then I'll tell you everything." The giant spider roared in fury, its entire body shaking as if in an earthquake. The crack on its armor glowed brightly, and it became even more savage. Tongyi gritted her teeth, her heart wavering for a moment. Even my attack couldn't bring it down. Does he really have a way to deal with this? With no path of retreat, she warned him sternly, "Be careful. Don't get crushed." Gimhao smirked faintly, a light flashing in his eyes. "Yeah, don't worry. When it comes to dealing with these bugs, and I have experience." He leaped forward, charging straight at the monster, his razor-sharp hand glinting. A craving thought flashed through his mind. Overlord class, monster level, Red Queen class, Dire Hound class, Overlord class, Colossus class, Calamity class. If I devour you, just how powerful will I become? Gimhao landed near the spider. He grimaced slightly. Too hard. If this were a normal aberrant beast, it would have been blown to bits already. This massive size, it's like a large armored tank. You must have eaten quite a few of your own kind, haven't you? The enraged spider raised its massive stone pillar-like leg and plunged it downward, but Gimhao easily dodged to one side, smiling tauntingly. Too slow. Did you pour all of your power into defense? In that case, you're no different from a moving target. Nearby, the soldiers providing fire support stared wide-eyed in astonishment. Oh my god, I'm not dreaming, am I? Is that the same Gimhao who's as cowardly as a rabbit? Who the hell is he? Tongyi answered calmly, her eyes still glued to the fierce battle. He is a combat experimental subject, secretly created by the Allied government to confront the aberrant beasts. What? A soldier almost dropped his gun. The guy who took 3 months just to pass basic training? The one who's always the fastest to run away, him? Tong-Yi squeezed the trigger, firing another burst, her voice low and pensive. "That's right. It sounds absurd, but it's true, and I only just confirmed it," when he blocked that blow for me. The man standing next to Adjutant Lam Dung Tree, a member of the dispatched Red Blood Squad, frowned slightly. A flicker of vague suspicion shone in his eyes as a question arose in his mind. An experimental subject? Does that kind of thing really exist? Or is Captain Tong-Yi deliberately hiding something? Tong-Yi paid no mind to his line of thought. Her voice continued in a low tone. He escaped from the laboratory, and then infiltrated the border patrol team without anyone's knowledge. This is an extremely serious matter. A soldier standing nearby spoke up in a daze. Then, that last Crimson Carapace outbreak, was that related to Ngim Hao too? Tong-Yi nodded slightly, her gaze as sharp as a blade. That possibility cannot be ruled out. Yes, that's precisely why I had to clearly investigate his identity, but you all must remember this. This is a top secret of the Allied government. What you have just heard and seen must absolutely not be disclosed, not even a single word, understood? The frightened soldiers nodded repeatedly, hastily mumbling, "Yes, yes, Captain." Before they could regain their composure, the giant spider in front suddenly gathered its power, opened its hideous mouth wide, and condensed a blazing red ball of energy. It swirled like a miniature sun. In a flash, it fired straight at Ngiem Hao. Acting on reflex, Ngiem Hao leaped to the side, escaping the deadly stream of power. But as soon as he landed, he realized that horrifying orb was hurtling toward the three people behind him. Ngiem Hao's face paled. He screamed, "Get out of the way, you idiots! Run!" Boom! The orb hit the ground and exploded, unleashing a heaven-shaking tremor. The entire tunnel swayed violently, as if about to collapse. A thick cloud of dust billowed up, enveloping everything as Tong-Yi rolled to the side. Dodging just in time, she dropped to one knee on the stone floor, panting heavily. A patrolman clutched his head in a daze. "Huh? I'm still alive? I'm... As he looked up, he saw Lam Dung Tree lying face down beside him, a pool of blood spreading out. The soldier shrieked in panic, "Sir, Captain Try, your leg is injured!" Lam Dung Tree struggled to sit up, his face contorted in pain, but his voice remained calm. "Don't worry, I'm not going to die. This is just a scratch." The soldier's voice trembled with guilt. But you're a member of the Special Operations Forces. And you got hurt because of a grunt like me." Lam Dung Tree cut him off, half joking, trying to keep the mood light. Trading a leg to save a life? Sounds like a good deal to me. This only made the soldier more tormented as he hung his head low. "But your mission is to eliminate the aberrations, not protect me." Lam Dung Tree's expression hardened, his eyes firm and resolute. "I became a soldier, not just to kill those damned monsters. I exist to protect humanity, to be the final shield between them and despair. I won't abandon a single person." But not far away, Ngiem Hao was thrown by the shockwave of the explosion, tumbling several times. He landed flat on his back, gritting his teeth and cursing under his breath. "Damn it! The red bone energy in my body is completely depleted. I can't even maintain the beast transformation in one arm." A low, menacing growl echoed. A giant spider advanced slowly, its massive legs digging into the rubble. The oppressive pressure made the air heavy and suffocating. But Ngiem Hao snapped his head up. His eyes flashed with fierce determination and a hint of contempt. "An Overlord-class armored tyrant spine, huh? Not bad. So this is the true power of an Overlord." Just as the monster was about to charge, a sudden gunshot rang out. The bullet whizzed through the air and slammed into its body. Ngiem Hao froze for a few seconds, then whipped his head around. A look of astonishment crossed his face as he realized the one who pulled the trigger was Tong-Yi. He muttered to himself, "It's her?" Tong-Yi spoke in a calm, serious tone. "Ngiem Hao, you can't die here. There are still too many things you need to figure out." The monster took the bullet, black blood oozing out, but then it broke into a savage, bone-chilling grin. Tong-Yi frowned, a thought flashing through her mind. Is it smiling? Could it be the red mist has already spread out from the cave? She quickly analyzed the situation. Those caves connect in 4 directions. It could be using them to channel the red mist to other locations, then using that very mist to replenish its own power. Sure enough, right before her eyes, the wound on the monster's body was closing in an unnatural way. Tong-Yi gritted her teeth. If this keeps up, it'll soon recover to its peak condition. The red mist that poured out of the outpost before, I'm afraid it was created by this thing, too. She turned, her voice low as she warned, Ngim-hao, we can't kill it. It's time to retreat. But Ngim-hao stubbornly shook his head. His eyes burned with resilience, his voice ringing with indomitable will. No, it dies here today. The very red mist it created is replenishing my energy, and right now it can't move. This is our only chance to finish it. Tong Nui reminded him once more, her voice full of caution. If you fail, you will likely die here. Ngim-hao smirked, his eyes flashing with unconcealed madness. I've stood in line at the gates of hell countless times before. What's one more? Tong Nui sighed softly, realizing she couldn't convince him. She finally nodded in agreement. All right, we only get one chance. Okay, I'll unleash my full power to help you break its head armor. When I do, seize the opportunity and strike straight for its brain. With that, she tightened her grip on her gun. She aimed precisely at the monster's head, whispering softly, This is the only way we can take it down. Instantly, a thunderous shot rang out, the bullet flying like a bolt of lightning and embedding itself in the monster's skull. At the same moment, Ngim-hao charged forward, his body becoming a fierce whirlwind. Perfect, he thought. The head armor is broken. Without a moment's hesitation, Ngim-hao swung his malformed arm, raining down furious blows. Die! A heart-wrenching scream erupted as the monster shrieked in agony. Its head cracked open, sending foul blood and bone fragments flying everywhere. Tong Nui whispered to herself, her heart caught on the line between life and death. Did we do it? The monster's brain was obliterated, but Ngim-hao was also thrown back by the horrific force, his body slamming onto the stone ground as thick dust billowed up around him. Horrified, Tong Nui rushed over, her face a mask of extreme anxiety. Ngim-hao, are you okay? Tong Nui happened to see a photograph sticking out of his jacket pocket. Curious, she pulled it out, frowning slightly in wonder. Is this a photo? Oh. While she was absorbed in looking at it, she didn't notice Ngim-hao's hand clenching a strange object that was emitting an ethereal light. In an instant, the object pierced through his palm. His whole body convulsed violently. His vision went black as his consciousness faded into a hazy void. Ngim-hao wondered in bewilderment. Where am I? Could I be dead? In that space, a structure resembling a DNA helix shimmered with a constantly flashing red light in front of him. Ngim-hao looked down at his chest and was stunned to find the strange object now embedded right in the center of it. A brilliant red light pulsed in time with his heartbeat. He cried out in horror, Wait, isn't this the thing that was inside that Overlord-class aberration from before? Could it be some kind of special energy? A moment ago, it was clearly in my hand. How did it get into my chest? While he was still dazed, the object suddenly began to glow intensely, forcefully pulling in the surrounding red gas. The gas formed swirling streams of mist that were sucked inside. Ngim-hao's eyes widened. What? It's absorbing the red mist? It's not just absorbing it, it can store it too. Amazing. This means we can use the red mist to undergo an even stronger beastification. I'm not afraid of losing control anymore. But before the joy could even spread, the object's surface suddenly cracked, and brilliant red light began to seep out. Ngim-hao's face fell as he yelled in a panic, This is bad! This new energy crystal has too small of a capacity. If it keeps absorbing like this, it'll explode. Suddenly recalling the previous battle, he exclaimed, That's right, that giant spider's technique. It consumed a huge amount of red mist. If I can gather it, I might be able to stabilize the energy. But at that very moment, in the hospital room, Ngim-hao's chest began to glow. Streams of red mist rose, swirling thickly around his body. He snapped his eyes open, shot up, and roared, Come to me! The red mist obeyed, instantly swirling. It condensed before his hand like a raging current. The room door burst open, and Tong, too, rushed in. Witnessing the scene, she screamed, What? What are you doing? Ngim-hao gritted his teeth, his whole body trembling as he yelled, Get back! It's going to explode! Before he could finish his sentence, a world-shaking explosion echoed from within the room. A blinding red light filled the space, causing the entire building to tremble. 5 minutes earlier at the hospital. Right outside the hospital room, a patrol soldier approached, saluted, and began to report formally, Captain Tong, Adjutant Lam Dungtree's condition is... Before he could finish, Tong Yi cut him off, her voice firm yet gentle. As a soldier, he was already prepared for this. You don't need to blame yourself any longer. Without another word, she pushed the door open and entered Lam Dungtree's room. Seeing her appear, he propped himself up and asked worriedly, "Captain Tong, what on earth happened to Ngim Hao? I've never heard of an experimental subject like him existing in the XU." Tong Yi frowned slightly, her tone strict. "Ngim Hao's situation is top secret. You don't need to worry about it. Your job now is to rest and recover. I have already requested a transfer to the logistics department for you from headquarters. From now on, you can rest easy." With that said, she turned to leave. But Lam Dong-tree suddenly spoke up, his voice filled with determination. "I will report this to my father, Chief of Staff Tong Lim. I believe he will come to his own conclusion." Hearing this, Tong too froze instantly. She whipped her head around, her eyes as cold as ice. "Adjutant Lam, who is your superior officer? From this moment on, your communication privileges are revoked. Stay here and do not go anywhere." Speaking decisively, she left the room. Out in the hallway, Tong too turned and asked the patrol soldier, "Which room is Ngim Hao in?" The soldier hastily replied, "Reporting, room 34. You, come with me." A moment later, they both stopped in front of hospital room number 34. Tong too spoke in a stern voice, "You stand guard outside this door. Without my order, absolutely no one is to enter." The soldier gave a military salute and shouted loudly, "Yes, Captain!" She pushed the door open and stepped inside, then abruptly froze as if she'd been turned to stone. In front of her, Ngim Hao was struggling to control a stream of brilliant red energy swirling around his hand, like a living, dangerous orb. Tong too screamed in horror. "Ngim Hao, what are you doing?" He gritted his teeth, sweat pouring off him like rain as he endured the strain. He growled, "Get away, it's about to explode!" Before she could even grasp the situation, the energy suddenly erupted violently, shooting straight toward Tong too. With lightning-fast reflexes, she dropped to the ground as the crimson orb immediately tore through the window frame. It shot out into the open like a blinding laser beam. A terrifying explosion echoed as the crimson torrent of power pierced through one dilapidated skyscraper after another, leaving a series of enormous holes. From the adjacent hospital room, Lam Dong-tree witnessed the scene through the glass, clenching his jaw tightly. It pierced through the abandoned building. What on earth did Ngim Hao do? "Captain Tong, how long do you think you can hide this?" The patrol soldier in the hallway was thrown to the ground by the pressure wave. He clutched his head and cried miserably, "Oh God, why am I always the unlucky one? Help me! I don't want to die yet!" In the middle of the now ruined room, Tong Yi followed the trajectory of the energy stream, musing in a low voice. "Isn't that the same move the armored insect used before?" She furrowed her brows, her mind racing. How can Ngim Hao master an aberration's ability without beastifying? This is certainly full of implications, but after a moment of thought, Tong too let out a soft breath, turning to him with a voice mixed with both anger and curiosity. "Ngim Hao, you owe me a lot of explanations." On the hospital rooftop, a cool breeze drifted by, tossing Tong too's and Ngim Hao's hair. The air between them was heavy, tinged with a bit of melancholy. Tong too tilted her head, observing him, her voice filled with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. "So you're saying, not only can you absorb an aberration's beast core, but you can also learn its abilities?" Ngim Hao nodded slightly, his gaze suddenly darkening. "It's more than that. I can also absorb more red mist and store it, even the crystal inside my body. Seems to have the ability to self-repair." Tong Yi took a deep breath, her eyes watching him with utter disbelief. "You really have far too many functions?" Ngim Hao gazed out at the distant, hazy red mist, his voice low and laced with anxiety and pain. "It's true that I've received their power, but at the same time I feel myself slowly changing, gradually becoming more like them. But in a form like this, can I still be considered human?" "Captain Tong?" He let out a faint laugh, but it was steeped in loneliness. "What exactly am I?" Tong too took a step closer, her gaze softening. "You are you. A unique existence. Whether you're human or a monster, that isn't important. What's important is how you use this power." She paused for a moment, her voice becoming stern. "Your power is both a weapon and a catastrophe." At this, Tong Yi stepped even closer, her eyes resolute. "You now have two paths. The first path, join Crimson Blood and become a reserve soldier in my squad. The second path, be considered a threat, like an aberration, and be eliminated." Ngim Hao's lips curled into a slight smile. "Eliminate?" Repeating those two words in a soft yet ice-cold voice, he then let out a faint laugh. Do you really think the forces currently in this city are actually capable of doing that? Song Yi, completely unfazed, replied bluntly, "It's true that right now I can't do anything to you. But if you choose to confront the Crimson Blood, then you're just being arrogant. Joining my team has no disadvantages for you. Identity, information, resources. I can help you solve any problem." A corner of Yan Hao's mouth lifted, a flash of mockery in his eyes. Someone as dangerous as me with powers I can barely control. You're really willing to take me in? This must come at a high price, right? Pulling out all the stops just to recruit me. Surely you have another objective. Song Yi sighed softly, her eyes sincere. You're a smart one. That's right. For a certain reason, I really do need you. But you must believe me, we aren't enemies. You can look at this as a transaction. With that, she took a photograph from inside her jacket. Seeing the familiar picture, Yan Hao's eyes widened in shock, his voice cracking. This girl! How did you get this? Song Yi gave a faint smile. Don't underestimate me. If I want something, investigating your past is child's play. She paused for a moment, then continued in a firm voice. Join the Crimson Blood, and I will use our top-tier intelligence network to its full extent to help you find your sister. But Yan Hao quietly weighed his options, his gaze lost in the vast red smog. As if searching for an escape from this chaotic reality, he knew he had reached his limit, fumbling around in the dark alone. Just as Song Yi said, if he had a higher rank and status in the military, he'd have more power for his investigation, and everything from then on would be much smoother. After a moment of dead silence, he let out a soft breath, accepting the deal. He reached for the photo, his voice mixed with a nonchalance that couldn't hide his utter exhaustion. However, dear Captain, if you need me this badly, then a little salary increase shouldn't be an issue, right? After all, every penny of my salary so far has gone into finding my sister. Hearing this, Song Yi raised an eyebrow, lightly tapping her fingers on her hip. She replied in a stern voice tinged with a bit of helplessness. All right, Corporal Yan Hao, in my capacity as Captain of the Crimson Blood, I officially approve your transfer as a reserve combatant with compensation at the highest standard. Now get out of my sight and go handle the paperwork. Yan Hao laughed, snapped to attention, and gave a military salute. His playful voice echoed, Yes, Captain Song. I'm on my way to the patrol team to handle the handover immediately. Right. He turned, about to leave, but he had only taken a few steps when her voice called out from behind. Oh, right, Song Yi added nonchalantly, her arms crossed. The compensation for the damage you caused to the hospital. I've already covered it for you. You don't have to pay it back immediately, but it will be deducted from your future salary. Yan Hao froze, stunned for a second, and then he let out a weary sigh. Uncle, huh? So I really do have to pay for it after all. He muttered and complained, his steps heavy as if someone had just delivered a blow to his wallet, sending his mood plummeting. Behind him, she silently thought to herself, Uncle, I swear I'll find a way to save you. As for her, watching his retreating back, a flicker of both doubt and hope crossed her eyes. My intuition tells me he might hold the key to turning the mutated beasts back into humans. At Red Rock City, the base of operations for the Border Patrol team, a heavy military truck rolled to a stop. Yan Hao and the guard next to him stepped out, ready to complete the enlistment procedures. His eyes swept over the man as he asked curiously, You want to join the Special Forces team too? Only then did he really notice the guard's face. The man pointed to the insignia on his chest, his expression brimming with pride. Captain Song and the adjutant both hold me in high regard. Even though I'm joining the logistics division, hey Yan Hao, from now on, we can help each other out. Seeing that familiar gesture, it was clear they had once fought side by side in the Border Patrol. Yet Yan Hao couldn't be bothered with such minor characters, so insignificant. He muttered to himself, What was this guy's name again? Guess I never cared enough to notice. The guard waved toward someone behind him, his voice filled with concern. He called out, Captain Gu, is he all right? Yan Hao turned in that direction to see a squad from the city defense team surrounding Captain Gu. The blonde-haired man was still covered in serious injuries. His limbs were wrapped in clean white bandages. Ever since the horrific red fog outbreak, he had to lean on a cane, his steps pained and unsteady. Facing him was an old friend and a former rival in love. Now, he held the position of captain of the Red Rock City defense team. His name was Zhang Shui. Old Gu, all those years ago, you slapped me because of that mute woman. He kicked hard at Captain Gu's leg. He pressed him against the mottled wall, his tone dripping with caustic sarcasm. "Now look at you, like a masterless dog. Did you come to beg our city defense team to pay compensation for your squad members?" Seeing the superior, who had always protected him, be humiliated, the guard couldn't contain his fury and rushed toward the defense squad. Unfortunately, he was far too weak. He was quickly restrained by two of them, who slammed his face into the rough concrete. "You think you alone are enough?" When he couldn't win with his fists, he used his words, roaring furiously, "You bastards! Let our Captain Gu go!" Zhang Shui spat a glob of thick phlegm on the ground beside him, his face a mask of absolute contempt. "Get on your knees and lick the mud off my boots, or else," he sneered, pointing a finger at the restrained guard. "I'll snap this little punk's arm." Faced with an impossible situation, outmatched and with his subordinate held hostage, Captain Gu ground his teeth with a grating sound. He had no choice but to swallow his choked anger and prepare to drop to his knees on Zhang Shui's command. Yan Hao rushed forward, grabbing Captain Gu firmly, holding him upright and preventing him from kneeling. "There's no need to kneel." Captain Gu lifted his head and saw the lazy new recruit he had always tolerated. Now, that same recruit was bravely standing between him and the crowd of soldiers. He couldn't help but be stunned, a wave of emotion washing over him. "Yan Hao, you—" Yan Hao cut in immediately. "You've helped me out a lot in the past. Let me repay you this time." He turned to face the squad of guards, his voice booming with defiance. "Yan Hao is here today. Whoever dares to touch a single hair on Captain Gu's head, I'll shatter their bones and feed them to the dogs." They were witnessing a young man, all by himself, threatening an entire squad of guards right before their eyes. The guards' faces darkened with rage. "Huh?" They surged forward, determined to beat the arrogant punk to a pulp. As they rushed him, they spewed vicious curses. "You're that eager to die, huh?" Yan Hao didn't waste words on the likes of them. He strode forward and unleashed a sharp kick at the squad, sending one of them flying before he collapsed, unconscious. Immediately, he started counting. 1. Following his momentum, he spun and drove his elbow into the guy next to him, knocking him out in an instant. 2, 3, 4. The remaining men were at his side. One gripped an iron bar, stealthily raising it from behind. Instinctively, Yan Hao ducked to evade it, then whipped around with a kick that shattered his opponent's knee joint. The man crumpled in agony. 3. Then he pressed forward, driving a powerful punch straight into the last guy's stomach, slamming him into the wall. The terrifying impact of the blow sent cracks spreading through the wall. A large chunk of it shattered and broke off. 4, 4, 4. He glanced over the chaotic scene. 4 guards, taken down by Yan Hao in the blink of an eye. Each one fell to a single, decisive blow. The surrounding crowd was stunned by his incredible power. One of the city defense guards, his face pale, hid behind the crowd and stammered, "Our company commander. He's an E-class warrior. How dare you attack us, you're dead meat." The company commander, Zhang Shui, watched his 4 subordinates get wiped out before his very eyes. He froze in fear. "How is this kid so strong? He took down 4 guys in just 4 seconds. That's 1 guy per second. He's even stronger than me." Realizing he couldn't win with his fists, he quickly drew his 6-shooter and aimed at Yan Hao. "You trash from the border patrol dare to resist a public official? I'll shoot you first and report it later." Yan Hao deftly dodged the barrage of bullets, a contemptuous smirk on his face. He taunted, "Too slow. Do you even know how to shoot?" He lunged forward, grabbing the gun in Zhang Shui's hand and whispered a warning. "Your firing speed is too slow." With that, he crushed the gun with his bare hands, leaving Zhang Shui gaping in absolute horror. Yan Hao relaxed his fingers, letting the metal fragments clatter to the ground. A wisp of smoke curled up from the intense pressure he'd applied. It was barely 1% of what Song Rui could do. Realizing he'd been humiliated in public and in front of his men, his pride exploded. He drew a dagger and lunged, slashing wildly at Yan Hao. Yan Hao didn't even bother to dodge the sluggish, weak attack. He stood his ground, casually blocking the man's arm with one hand, knocking the dagger away as he grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off his feet. "A moment ago, was it you who said you wanted Captain Gu to kneel and lick your feet?" Only now did Zhang Shui realize he was nothing but dust before this man's power. He tried to cling to his title as company commander to threaten him. What do you think you're doing? I'm warning you, don't do anything stupid." But before he could finish, a sharp glint appeared in Yan Hao's eyes. Ignoring his empty threats, Yan Hao slammed his head into the ground. The force of the impact shattered the ground into 100 pieces. After that terrifying collision, Jiang Shui collapsed, unconscious, foaming at the mouth and convulsing on the ground. It was over. The remaining soldiers who had been watching suddenly panicked and turned to flee. He can dodge bullets and crush a gun with his bare hands. Yan Hao didn't even bother with the leftover defense guards. He just lightly dusted off the hand that had gripped Jiang Shui's throat as if it were dirty. Glancing at his arm, which briefly glowed with crimson energy, he realized that his physique, after being enhanced by the monster core, had far surpassed his initial expectations. Yan Hao walked over to the staff and picked it up. Behind him, the defense squad hastily carried Jiang Shui away and fled. He's a monster! Run! The guard who had been so arrogant and confident in front of Yan Hao moments ago immediately changed his tune after witnessing his power. He walked up and clapped Yan Hao on the shoulder, fawning over him. "Brother Yan, you were a true god of war back there." But Yan Hao was a bit surprised by the man's sudden change. "Oh, are you okay?" The man quickly replied, I'm fine, I can take a punch." Yan Hao walked over to Captain Gu and returned his staff. Captain Gu took it. "Yan Hao, thank you." He smiled brightly and replied, "What's there to thank me for? Captain Gu, you've always helped me in the past." "Right. So now isn't it only natural that I'd step up to protect you?" Captain Gu looked worried about Yan Hao's future. He softly warned him, "But if the city defense team comes looking for trouble for you." Before he could finish his sentence, the guard beside them cut in. "Captain, don't worry. Yan Hao and I are members of the Special Ops team now. The city defense team wouldn't dare do anything to us." At the temporary base of the Redstone City Special Ops team, Yan Hao had completed the procedures for his return and approached Song Rui to report. Song Rui was holding his assessment notice. "I've already sent your application to join the team to headquarters." As she spoke, she showed Yan Hao the approved assessment form. "Yes, headquarters has approved your assessment application." He had just finished the assessment and returned to base, and it was already approved. Yan Hao couldn't help but be impressed by headquarters' speed. "Oh, not bad efficiency." He happily took the notice in his hand. "So does that mean I'm now an official member of the Special Ops team, right?" Song Rui immediately countered, "No, don't celebrate just yet, Yan Hao. The real test is next." She looked at him and continued, "You must head to headquarters in Lake City immediately and participate in the selection assessment for the Special Ops Blood Warrior Combat Division. But I believe with your abilities you can definitely pass with ease." Yan Hao broke into an arrogant, proud smile. He gave a showy little wave with his fingers before turning on his heel. "Got it. Just you wait, I'll go break some records for you." As the military convoy, along with a truck carrying equipment, rolled into the borders of Lake City, Song Rui sat in the driver's cabin, holding an introductory document and explaining things to the new recruits. "This is Lake City, the capital of Su, and also where the Blood Warriors are headquartered." Yan Hao, sitting in the back with a curious expression, pointed towards a relaxed-looking guard. "Looking at the scenery, I heard that official members of the Sanguine Corps are at least D-rank warriors. So, how are these warrior ranks determined? This guy, he's so weak, and he gets to participate in the Sanguine Corps' assessment?" Hearing the teasing, the guard could only give a forced, awkward laugh, scratching his head shyly. "Because I basically can't win a fight, haha. But my specialty is taking a punch really well." Tonger quietly added, "He joined the logistics team, not the combat force, so he didn't have to go through the fighting test." Hearing the explanation, the guard quickly regained his smug demeanor, clapping him hard on the shoulder and laughing boisterously. "The logistics team joins the fight with you guys too. You'll have to rely on me a lot from now on. Haha. Good thing we have some free time. Let's exchange some information, shall we? People like me who can activate special abilities are generally called warriors. A warrior's combat power is divided into 6 levels, in descending order: S, A, B, C, D, E, and F. The 4 special response teams have their own ranking departments, but it's fundamentally based on strength, an individual's physique and stamina. As for the mutant beasts, from weakest to strongest, they're divided into Red Hound class, Vicious Hound class, Overlord class, Colossus class, and finally, Calamity class, making up 5 levels. So if you compare the human ranks to the mutant beast ranks, an E-rank warrior can defeat a Red Hound class beast. A D-rank warrior is on par with a Vicious Hound class beast. B and C-rank warriors are on par with an Overlord class beast, and an A-rank warrior is on par with a Colossus class beast. Finally, an S-rank warrior is a match for a calamity-class beast. Also, one's compatibility with a core will also affect their rank. Upon hearing about cores, Yan Hao's expression suddenly turned serious as he pressed, "Compatibility with a core?" Tong Yi patiently clarified for him, "That's right. In this post-apocalyptic world, only the mutant beasts created by the Red Fog possess special abilities. We human warriors can only rely on core weapons compatible with the mutant beast cores to use their powers. Your natural physique, talent, and even luck will affect your core compatibility. The higher the compatibility, the better the quality, and greater the number of special abilities you can activate. If you can't achieve compatibility with a core, then the highest you can ever be ranked is E rank." Suddenly, as Tong Yi's convoy was speeding down the highway, an officer holding a gun raised his hand, signaling them to stop. "Sorry, this route is currently blocked. Please take another road." The driver up front frowned, questioning, "You can block the special response team?" The soldiers beside him quickly explained, "Our apologies. We're just carrying out orders. We have no choice." Glancing at the prominent Liutang conglomerate logo on a vehicle that had just passed behind the barricade, Tong Yi suddenly had a bad feeling. Why would big shots from the Liutang conglomerate show up here? Something's not right with this Sanguine Core selection assessment. 1 hour later, at the Sanguine Core selection and testing area, the examiner stood before the line of candidates and began his announcement. The Sanguine Core is humanity's strongest bastion, and the Special Response Team's sharpest blade. The Sanguine Corps' chief examiner, A-rank warrior Lin Yongxin, stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his solemn voice echoing. "I don't care what your backgrounds are. Now that you're here, you will follow the rules. Using connections is absolutely forbidden here. I don't care if you're the president's nephew. If you don't have real ability, don't even think about staying in my Sanguine Corps." Lin Yongxin raised his hand high, officially starting the assessment. "The first part, the physical fitness test, begins now. The first part of the physical test is to carry a 50-kilogram weight on your back and sprint 100 meters. In this test, Yan Hao completely outclassed his rivals, breaking the weighted sprint record in just 5 seconds. Next was the electronic strength test for arm power. For a normal person, lifting a single weight of 100 kilograms with one hand is already their limit. Yan Hao lifted 500 kilograms as easily as if it were a pebble, leaving the surrounding crowd stunned and speechless. He lifted 500 kilograms with one hand. Next up was the punching power test. He was afraid of breaking the machine, so he held back and only threw a light punch. However, the testing machine was immediately dented inward by the force of his blow. Sparks flew from the short-circuited machine, followed by smoke from the powerful impact. The examiner beside him was dumbfounded. The punching machine is broken. The force is immeasurable. 10 minutes later, Yan Hao stood before the chief examiner. With his hands clasped behind his back, he reported in a formal tone, "Examiner, all events have been completed." Lin Yongxin looked slightly surprised. He took the results sheet and confirmed, "Completed, 198 points." Hearing that number, the surrounding candidates began to murmur amongst themselves. 198 points? The previous rookie record was only 180. That kid must have cheated, right? He's so dead. A disgruntled candidate stepped forward. "Instructor Lin, the highest record for a rookie joining the Corps is 140 points. His score far exceeds that record. I find this hard to believe." He was Zhang Jin, younger brother of the Redstone City Defense Forces company commander, and also the younger brother of Zhang Shui. Lin Yongxin frowned in annoyance and glanced at him. "No. I supervised him personally, and there are security cameras here. Are you suggesting I gave this kid special treatment?" He smirked, his sharp gaze fixed on Yan Hao. I wouldn't dare. I'm just curious." He stepped up behind him. "So you're Yan Hao? You're from the Red Rock City Patrol, aren't you?" He was a little surprised by this aggressive stranger. So he cautiously asked, "Is there a problem?" Trung Tan sneered like a movie villain about to meet his end. "Nothing. Just came to say hello. After all, we're from the same hometown." As he spoke, he was seething with rage, the image of his brother's humiliation flooding his mind. "You just wait, you little brat. I swear I'll pay you back tenfold for this." Meanwhile, Ngim Hao, who was already puzzled, was now even more confused. He stared intently at the man's retreating figure. "Hey, is he really from our hometown? Why have I never heard of him?" Lam Dung Tin spoke up from across from him, explaining, "His name is Trong Tan. He's the young master of the Red Rock City Guard. Do you two know each other?" He immediately replied, No, we don't. That's what he said, anyway. But he understood the whole situation now. The Red Rock City Guard, huh? So that's what this is about. He wants revenge for that Trong Tui guy I beat up before. The people in this city guard are rotten to the core. Lam Dong-tin continued to announce the assessment results for the candidates. The results of the physical fitness test are as follows. 30th place, Trong Ba, 89 points. 29th place, and so on and so forth. 3rd place, Trong Tan, 123 points. 2nd place, Kim Oan, 135 points. And finally, 1st place, Ngim Hao, 198 points. A beautiful blonde girl was standing behind Ngim Hao. Gazing at his strong back, she felt like a fangirl meeting a K-pop idol. I just came to this assessment for fun at first. I never expected to see such a talented rookie this year. How interesting. I'll have to study him closely. That was Kim Oan, who had just placed 2nd in the physical test. She was a high-level researcher for the Technical Intelligence Bureau. Lam Dong-tin continued with the test instructions. The top 15 people on the list will remain. The next test is core compatibility. In Trong Tan's private dorm room, he was talking via a tablet. I should have been able to take 1st place. On the back of the tablet was the symbol of the 6 factions. A voice came from it. If your brother wasn't a dog for the 6 factions, would you even be qualified to take this exam? Truong Tan furrowed his brow, grinding his teeth in anger. Who the hell knew 2 more monsters would show up? 2 men appeared on the tablet, sitting with their legs crossed while rolling a cigarette. You only have 1 chance. You'd better handle it well. After the conversation ended, he clenched his fists, his face darkening. For my brother's sake, I have to get in to see Huyet no matter what. At the location of the core testing machine, the 15 candidates who had passed the first round were standing with their hands behind their backs, waiting seriously for their turn. An examiner, Lam Dong-tin, holding a bracer, announced in a clear voice, "This test is very simple. You just need to wear this bracer." Then, Dong-tin pointed to the empty slot on the bracer and continued his announcement. Place the core into this arm guard and the test will begin. Anyone with a core compatibility below 40% will be eliminated immediately. Just so we're clear, I will briefly explain what a core is. On either side of Lam Dong-tin, images of different types of cores appeared as he gave a basic overview. First of all, only beasts above the hound class can produce cores. The more powerful the monster, the higher the quality of the core it creates. By inserting a core into a beast armament, a warrior can use abilities similar to that of the beast. Each person has a different compatibility with cores. Depending on that compatibility, it will awaken the latent talents within your body, which have many different elemental abilities. There are roughly 4 main attributes: elemental, power, support, and control. This bracer is the lowest grade beast armament and can only test for compatibility. You will not receive any special abilities from it. After you officially join the combat unit of the Si Huyet Special Response Team, we will provide you with better cores and equipment after the detailed presentation. Lam Dong-tin's voice echoed, marking the start of the test. The core compatibility test will now begin. The first candidate stepped forward. The display immediately flashed with bright red text. Grade D. Compatibility rate, 39%. Just 1 more percent and he would have passed. The heart-wrenching pain made him collapse to his knees on the gray stone floor, tearing at his hair in despair. Then he let out a scream. I placed 5th in the physical test. Why is this test harder than killing a beast? But his anguished cry didn't move anyone. The examiner just coldly gestured for the next person. Then it was Trong Tan's turn. Lam Dong-tin called out his name in a flat tone. Trong Tan, you're next. His eyes were as red as fire, and his face was gaunt, as if he'd aged several years. It was clear he had recklessly used a stimulant to enhance his power. He dragged his feet forward and let out a cold, contemptuous snort. He irritably put on the bracer, then snatched the core and slammed it down into the gauntlet slot, grinding his teeth. You'd better work for me! The display flashed. Grade D, 60% compatibility. The crowd immediately buzzed with amazement, since the previous record was only 56%, and just like that, he became the best of this batch. The result made him mutter arrogantly, "A bunch of trash, I'm the strongest one here." He swaggered off the platform as the crowd continued to murmur, someone confidently whispering to another that Trong Tan was surely the leader this time. From behind, Jin Ying started to sidle up, her eyes sparkling with curiosity, as if wanting to dissect his secrets. You're from Chishi City? Why? I've never heard of anyone as strong as you before. After all, I'm the resident know-it-all in the Technical Intelligence Bureau, yet you still managed to slip past my notice. You're not so simple, are you? The unusual fluctuation in the red fog concentration in Chishi City a few days ago, it might have something to do with you. Hearing the mention of the Intelligence Bureau, Yan Hao's heart skipped a beat. Fearing his identity would be exposed, he quickly avoided her gaze, beads of sweat forming on his forehead as he tried to change the subject. What are you talking about? Why don't I understand a single word you're saying? Jin Ying clasped her hands behind her back and leisurely strolled in front of him, her tone completely nonchalant. It's fine if you don't admit it. After all, you just need to know that I'm very interested in you. That's all that matters. But Yan Hao was at his wit's end with these persistent, nosy people. But then, an idea flashed through his mind. He could use the Intelligence Bureau's network. He turned and asked, "In that case, Miss Know-It-All, could I ask you to look into someone for me?" Jin Ying gave a thumbs up and a playful, charming wink. "Of course, but I have a condition." She put a hand on her hip and pointed towards the core compatibility meter. "As long as your score beats mine, I'll help you find out whatever you want. No strings attached." She emphasized each word with a challenging tone. "Anything at all." Just then, Lin Yongxin called out, "Next, Jin Ying!" Hearing her name, she finally let him go for the time being. She ran off, waving and cheering excitedly, "Here I go! Here I go!" Standing firmly on the core compatibility meter, Jin Ying put her hands on her hips and confidently declared to the crowd below, "Everyone, watch closely! This young lady is about to break that guy Zhang Jin's record." But Yan Hao in the audience wondered to himself, is she really that strong to be so overconfident? Zhang Jin, still looking smug, muttered, what a show-off. Jin Ying put the gauntlet on one hand, held the core high with the other, and gave it a few dramatic spins. Then, like a transforming hero, she slotted the core into place and flashed a proud, radiant smile. "Watch closely!" she shouted. The display flickered. "D-Class compatibility 78%. The crowd immediately erupted in an uproar, more astonished than ever. A D-Class warrior with 78% compatibility? No, this is impossible. No, we've never heard of a score like this. It must be the machine. The machine must be broken." Amidst the doubtful whispers from the crowd, Jin Ying gave a thumbs up, smiling brightly like a K-pop idol. "Hey!" She walked down and made a V sign with both hands in front of Zhang Jin as if to taunt him. "See that? I told you I'd break Zhang Jin's record." But no. He was being provoked again. And what's more, it was as if his pride had been stabbed. Zhang Jin clenched his fists, his narrow eyes darkening with rage as he swore to himself that besides Yan Hao, he couldn't let this moron go either. Just then, Lin Yongxin's voice rang out clearly. "Last one, Yan Hao!" Witnessing that score, Yan Hao privately acknowledged that the girl's power was indeed extraordinary. Perhaps what she said wasn't a lie at all. She really did hold so many interesting secrets. Having just provoked the stray dog's wrath, Jin Ying now acted aloof, completely ignoring whether it would bite back or not. She turned to him, her voice dripping with provocation. "Well?" Feeling the pressure, he strode forward, one hand stuffed deep in his pocket, the other waving flamboyantly in the air. "You'd better watch closely." He gripped the core tightly in his palm. Yan Hao silently considered. "To find out where Xiao Shui is, I have to win this bet. Just as Song Air mentioned, my warrior rank should be at least C-class. And the quality of this core is exactly like the one I devoured before. Both have that same mysterious black color." Yan Hao inserted the core into the slot on his gauntlet, wondering to himself what will the compatibility be. With the firm belief that he was a C-class warrior, he wasn't afraid of the bet at all. He confidently raised his gauntlet high. "It's time to discover my true compatibility." The display suddenly lit up brilliantly. C-class, causing the audience below to stare wide-eyed in astonishment. It was the first time that letter had ever flashed during the test. A moment later, the system repeatedly sounded a warning signal. "Error detected! Error detected!" That announcement sent a stir through the crowd. All eyes shot to the display, witnessing for the first time a machine crying for help. What about the compatibility? What's happening? The system continued to blare. Core compatibility test result is 0%. Yan Hao was so stunned he went blank, instinctively blurting out, "Huh?" Zhang Jin burst into gleeful, uproarious laughter, pointing a finger straight at him. "Ha ha ha! You useless piece of trash. All that arrogant talk? You're killing me. Even the core rejects you. But Yan Hao's brow immediately furrowed. His sharp gaze locked onto him, as if he had marked his target to be crushed later. Suddenly, he felt a strange fluctuation from the gauntlet. He quickly looked down. The core on the gauntlet was melting into thin, red, bone-like threads, which were then being swallowed bit by his arm. This is bad. Is my body forcibly devouring this core? He clenched his jaw, using all his strength to suppress it, trying to hide his body's secret, terrified that everything would be exposed in front of everyone. Before he could do anything else, Jin Ying had already dashed towards the control panel. A 0% compatibility. I've never seen this before. Even the absolute worst should be at least 1%. She was lost in a mad scientist's frenzy, giggling as she furiously tapped the buttons. I have to record this. My old man will definitely get a kick out of this. Trong Tan suddenly noticed something unusual. He grinned maliciously. Oh, the crystal core on that bastard's hand. He then pointed at Yan Hao and reported, Instructor Lam, Yan Hao secretly stole a crystal core. The core on his hand is gone. Yes, sir. Hearing this, Lam Dong Tin was briefly stunned, then immediately gave a firm order. Yan Hao, raise your hands. Let me see your wrist guard and the crystal core now. He raised his hands high. The crystal core on his wrist guard had vanished completely at some point. Dong Tin frowned, puzzled. Where's the core that was on your hand? Suddenly feeling like he was about to be dragged off as a test subject, Yan Hao was so panicked that his face went deathly pale. He stammered in response. I don't know why it disappeared either. He let out a long sigh, knowing he had to come up with an excuse for this impossible situation and fast. Otherwise, they would definitely capture him and turn him into a live test subject. An idea flashed in his mind. With no time left, he had to take a gamble. I'll risk it. I'll pass off the beastification as an ability, activated by the crystal core. Let's see. Having decided, a red, mist-like energy flowed from Yan Hao's palm, coiling around his arm. Before everyone's eyes, it transformed into a mutated form. Trong Tan was also stunned by the sight. Damn it! What the hell is happening? Lam Dong Tin tightened his grip on his weapon, his brows furrowed. His stern voice echoed, Everyone be on guard! Back away now! Completely opposite to the crowd, Kim Wan was boiling with extreme excitement. Her eyes sparkled like stars, her cheeks flushed a vibrant red. She unconsciously caressed her cheeks. Oh my, could this be beastification? Hearing the word beastification, Trong Tan suddenly became curious. Beastification, huh? Has this guy been contaminated by the red mist? Dong Tin remained poised to attack as the crowd slowly backed away, his eyes glued to Yan Hao's every move. There's no other choice but to deal with him right here, right now. Kim Wan raised both hands. Hey, Yan Hao, can you hear what I'm saying? With a calm expression, he replied, What is it? Seeing this, Dong Tin also asked curiously, You haven't lost your mind? Still maintaining a calm expression, he slowly reverted his mutated arm. Ah, it seems to be an ability from this crystal core. It just burrowed into my body on its own, and then it just turned out like this. Kim Wan excitedly rushed forward and clung to his arm. He didn't lose consciousness. Is this a transformation ability? Oh my god, this is the first time one has ever been discovered. Dong Tin also relaxed, realizing there was no longer a threat. He sheathed his weapon. Kid, you've hit the jackpot. To be able to control yourself after beastification, that's unheard of. This is definitely a rare ability. Yan Hao turned to look at Kim Wan, his voice full of curiosity. But what kind of person are you, exactly? How do you know so much? Kim Wan still held his arm tightly as if afraid her little lab rat would scurry away. Then she let go, winked, and smiled brightly, striking a provocative and seductive pose to make it easier to get close to him later. I told you I know a little bit of everything. Lam Dong Tin walked over, lightly patting Kim Wan on the head before explaining. Her name is Kim Wonk, one of the bloodline candidates in this batch. She also serves as a senior researcher at the Technical Intelligence Bureau. Her father is Major General Kim An-than, the head of the entire Research and Development Division. And Technology Development? Kim Wan looked like a pouting child, her fists clenched and eyebrows scrunched up. Instructor Lam, you're spilling my secrets. My mysterious, beautiful girl image is ruined. Lam Dong Tin raised a hand. All right, that's enough excitement for now. Yan Hao, hand over the crystal core. He awkwardly raised a hand to scratch his head. Well, Instructor Lamb, the thing is, I can't really give it to you. He pointed to his wrist guard and continued, This thing, it's inside my body and refuses to come out. From behind, Trong-tan witnessed the entire scene. Watching the lively conversation between Yan Hao and Lam Dong-tin, he was filled with astonishment. The crystal core, it actually went inside his body? As the crowd murmurs about the unprecedented situation, Trong-tan covered the sly smile on his face with one hand. I have to report this to the Liu Teng people. This guy will definitely make for an excellent test subject. A while later, in the radiation laboratory, Yan Hao was taken in for a full-body examination. The researchers hurriedly scanned and measured his biological indicators, their faces filled with astonishment. I've never seen anything like this. How can a crystal core possibly exist inside a human body? The researcher next to him also shook his head in surprise. What's more, this crystal core seems to have deeply fused with his body. I'm afraid there's no way to remove it. Then he turned and asked, Director Kim, what do you think? Next to them, Kim Oan was still impatiently waiting to explore Yan Hao's body further. Director Kim stroked his beard, his eyes flashing with curiosity as he replied, He's worth studying. He definitely has quite a few secrets. This man was Kim An-than, Deputy Director of the Technical Intelligence Bureau, and also Kim Oan's father, Lam Dong-tin, and another man in a neat suit, entered the room. Director Kim, what's the situation? What on earth is going on with this kid's body? Why the sarcasm, Kim An-than? You people at Blood Covenant still cling to that rigid rule. So, old Kim, you won't accept anyone with less than 40% compatibility? Lieutenant General Song Liam, Chief of Staff of the Special Task Force and also Song Tu's father, approached from behind. Stop with the vague sarcasm, old Kim. Just tell us what in the world happened. Kim An-than looked at the data panel. I co-developed this testing equipment with Lu Dang. I understand it better than anyone else. This old man is telling you it's not 0%. Kim Oan, unable to contain her excitement, grabbed Kim An-than's hand and shook it. Dad, hurry up and tell us! The suspense is killing me! What's really going on with his body? Kim An-than laughed like a mad scientist. His body is beyond the machine's testing parameters. His compatibility rate is unprecedentedly high. It surpassed the theoretical maximum I set for this device. 100%. Hearing this, Song Liam's face grew serious. He frowned as if hearing news of vital national importance. He then turned to leave. Dong-tin, with me, immediately. Dong-tin immediately replied, Sir! Inside the scanner, Ngim Hao could feel the essence core within him turning from black to red. Is it because I absorbed that small essence core? A satisfied smile crept onto his face. I absorbed the core of an Overlord-class aberrant beast, stealing its ability and activating the essence core in my own body. This time I absorbed a low-level essence core. I didn't get any new abilities, but my essence core was strengthened, which means the stronger the aberrant beast, the stronger I'll become after absorbing its core. As long as I keep absorbing the cores of aberrant beasts, I can evolve indefinitely. 4 details about the essence core in Ngim Hao's body at this moment. The essence core's purity has improved. Its color has shifted from deep black to a coppery red. The total volume of red mist has increased. The absorption efficiency of the red mist has been enhanced. A reddish-brown color, like old, dull rust, still flecked with black impurities. At the Blood Covenant Special Response Team headquarters. Yes, in there, Song Tu was questioning Song Liam. I was the one who brought Ngim Hao in. What's the problem with him joining my team? With a cold expression, Song Liam replied, Captain Song Tu, mind your status and your address. Furthermore, aren't you paying far too much attention to that C-rank rookie? Song Tu placed a hand on her chest, trying to explain, Father, you promised you'd let me have him on my team. You can't make me a soldier who breaks her promise. Song Liam clasped his hands behind his back and prepared to leave. A soldier's word is to their country, not to an individual. Ngim Hao has been assigned to Lam Dong-tin's squad. That is final. He turned his head, his gaze still sharp and cold as he looked at Song Nui. You're a squad leader in the Blood Covenant. Are you really going to fight him over a recruit? Return to your post. Now. That is an order. As a soldier, hearing an order from a superior, Song Tu had no choice but to respond, Sir! But she thought to herself, I'll just have to find another way. In the Blood Covenant barracks break room, Kim Won's voice echoed everywhere. Ngim Hao, hot news! Kim Won beamed, clutching a mission sheet. A new monster lair has appeared between Hothan and Shichthak City. They're sending Blood Covenant rookies to investigate. I asked Instructor Lam to arrange for our team to participate. Ngim Hao, C-rank soldier of the Blood Covenant Special Response Team, member of Lam Dung Tin's squad, was taken aback. Huh? What? He exclaimed in surprise. Before long, Ngim Hao and Kim Oan were in Lam Dung Tin's office. He held the mission sheet, his tone clear as he announced it. The objective of this mission is to scout and assess the monster lair's level. You must remain vigilant at all times. Although it's a lair for low-level monsters, there could be variables because of the red mist. I'm Kim Oan, D-rank soldier, senior researcher of the Blood Covenant's Technical Intelligence Bureau, and member of Lam Dung Tin's squad. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity as she looked towards the guinea pig beside her. Data collection is my specialty. Don't worry, I'll support you. After a period of preparation, Lam Dung Tin's squad departed for the monster lair. Kim Won opened her laptop, diligently looking up information. Monster lair danger levels are classified into 4 tiers: low, medium, high, and extreme. Their forms are also varied. The low-level lair we're about to explore is a honeycomb type. It's characterized by a simple entrance, but the maze inside is complex and overlapping. The biggest nuisance is a bee swarm, with countless worker bees and a few aggressive soldier bees. But Ngim Hao scratched his chin, his voice full of doubt. Just one beehive. One person could probably handle that, right? So why send 3 whole vehicles full of people? Kim Oan mimicked him, stroking her chin and closing her eyes as if deep in thought, then continued, These iron bees are no ordinary little insects. The driver suddenly noticed something unusual and spoke up. Huh? There's something up ahead. Ngim Hao looked out the window and saw hundreds of tiny black dots swarming towards them. It was a swarm of giant bees with glowing red eyes and ferocious faces hurtling through the air. An unnamed grunt, a former patrol NCO now serving as a general duties soldier in the Special Response Team, quickly turned the steering wheel and yelled, Everyone, hold on tight! As hundreds of giant, sharp stingers shot towards their vehicle. Kim Won's face fell, and her voice was tense as she warned, This is bad. That's the Iron Bee's stinger attack. Our armored vehicle can't withstand it. Perfect. I have a newly developed move that I've been dying to test out. Ngim Hao's eyes glowed red. He shoved the window open with his hand. Leave the swarm outside to me. Hundreds of giant stingers rained down, riddling the vehicle with holes. At the same time, a red light erupted from within it. Ngim Hao smashed through the glass, stepping out with a giant mutated arm. You guys find cover and defend yourselves. I'll be right back. And with that, he eagerly charged into the giant swarm of bees. I'm excited to test out this new move and see how effective it is. Witnessing this, the nameless guy's jaw dropped. He curiously asked him, What kind of ability is that? His arm turned into a weapon. Jin Huan, seeing how clueless this nameless guy was, stroked her chin with a sarcastic smile. That's a transformation ability. He absorbed a core crystal during the assessment test. Remembering the earlier scene, her eyes sparkled. Back then, I thought he could only transform himself. Who would have guessed that he could also apply this transformation ability to other objects? This means he can turn anything into a weapon. Truly amazing. I have to record his combat data. I'll definitely need to study it thoroughly when I get back. The nameless guy was speechless, as if thinking, I was just a little curious. Why is she so intense about it? He silently vowed to avoid asking this fanatic any more questions in the future. A blast of green energy shot towards Yan Hao as he fought the swarm of iron stingers, piercing right through the mutated armor on his arm. Yan Hao exclaimed in surprise. Green? What the hell is this thing? Looking down, he saw a giant iron stinger, similar to the attacks of those iron stingers. He glanced around, trying to find where the attack came from. This is even stronger than an iron stinger's sting, and it can pierce my defenses. I have to find where it's coming from, or sooner or later, it'll punch a hole right through me. But Yan Hao turned his head to warn his teammates, There's another enemy attacking. Source unknown. Jin Huan, you guys be careful. Find cover. Jin Huan and the nameless guy immediately took off. Get behind this boulder, she shouted as she ran. A man in full protective gear ran out from a vehicle, a flamethrower in his hands. Full of confidence, he said, Iron stingers are afraid of fire. Seeing this, Jin Huan warned him, Don't go out there. No sooner had she spoken than the green projectile shot forward, piercing the fuel tank on his back. A loud explosion rang out, followed by his final blood-curdling scream. And just like that, it was the end for a young man with delusions of grandeur. Meanwhile, Yan Hao was too busy fighting the swarm of iron stingers to get a handle on the situation. He called out to Jin Huan, "Those green stingers! Where are they coming from?" Hiding behind the boulder, Jin Huan looked at her data tablet. It's a Direhound-class queen. Its sting has a venom that can corrode C-rank armor or lower. A Direhound class. The intel was wrong. This is no low-level nest. Yan Hao continued to fight, taking them down one by one. "Help me take care of these Red Guard-class drones. I'm going to kill the queen!" Jin Huan stepped out from behind the boulder, clenching her fists as currents of air enveloped her body. Got it. Jin Huan, D-rank warrior, elemental type, basic ability, wind power. She raised her hand. "Storm!" As she spoke, the winds rose, and currents of air like hundreds of slashing blades blew them away. The swarm of iron stingers was sent flying into the sky by the gale, clearing the view. A gigantic, three-eyed iron stinger with a ferocious expression and a body covered in thick plumage was revealed. It was defending the front of its nest. A red glow radiated from Yan Hao's eyes. He held his jacket, instantly reshaping it until it became a sharp spear. This shape should do. Then Yan Hao stomped hard, shattering the ground beneath him. He drew his arm back, preparing to hurl the spear at the queen. Go! A powerful shockwave erupted behind Yan Hao. The spear, formed from his jacket, transformed into a razor-sharp energy lance, flying forward with hurricane-like speed. The spear was so fast that by the time the Iron Stinger Queen noticed it, the deadly tip was already on it. In a flash, unable to react, it took the full piercing blow to its abdomen. The excruciating pain caused the monster to let out a pained shriek. Following its survival instincts, it turned and fled for its life. Witnessing this, Jin Huan couldn't hide her astonishment. This is absurd! Yan Hao clearly speared it through the abdomen, yet it still has the strength to escape. How can a Direhound-class creature have such incredible endurance? Suddenly, her intuition told her something was wrong. Jin Huan dashed toward her teammate, shouting a warning as she ran. "Yan Hao, don't let that Iron Stinger Queen get away!" At the same moment, Yan Hao was completely exhausted, breathing heavily. He propped one hand on his thigh to keep himself steady, his eyes following the retreating queen. As it vanished with its escort of worker stingers, Jin Huan yelled frantically, "That Iron Stinger Queen! It's about to evolve into an Overlord class!" In stark contrast to her urgency, Yan Hao was completely spent. He gave up, collapsing to the ground and gasping, "If it wants to run, just let it go." I'm completely out of energy. Yan Hao let out a long sigh, silently cursing his own reckless nature for causing this mess. There's no more red mist around to absorb. My energy was drained in an instant. If I'd known, I would have saved some to finish that monster off. Seeing him give up, Jin Huan relaxed a bit. But then, a strange thought popped into her head. She walked up to Yan Hao, placed her hands on her hips confidently, and started to tease him. "Hey, are you trying to seduce me with that about-to-kick-the-bucket look of yours? Don't tell me you want me to. Giving me mouth-to-mouth, are you?" Hearing that, it was as if Yan Hao was injected with a bit of energy. He struggled to sit up and retorted with a sarcastic smirk, "I'm not interested in kids, you know." Kim Wan immediately shot back, "Who are you calling a kid?" With that, she sat down beside him and held out a chocolate bar, her face beaming like a kitten showing off its prize. "Here, eat this first, then rest for a bit to get your strength back." Yan Hao shook his head and replied, "Actually, I lost my strength, but not because I'm hungry." But before he could finish his sentence, the sound of an engine roared. The driver had brought the support team rushing in. He ran over, waving his arms frantically. "Kim Hao! Kim Wan! Are you two okay?" Seeing the professional cleanup crew appear, Kim Hao immediately reassured them. "We're fine. For now, let's clean up the surrounding area. And while we're at it, let's set up a temporary rest area. This needs to be reported to the higher-ups," Kim Wan said nonchalantly, munching on her chocolate as she worked on a tablet. "I've already reported it to our superiors." A short while later, a convoy of military vehicles had assembled in front of the Iron Wind's lair. A strong gust of wind blew away the faint red mist, revealing the massive, towering nest before them. Kim Wan held up a measuring device and announced loudly, "The concentration of red mist inside this aberrant nest is low. We can go inside with protective suits." Worried that taking Kim Wan with him would be a liability, Kim Hao asked hesitantly, "Shouldn't we wait for backup?" Kim Wan's voice was firm, filled with confidence and determination. "That Iron Wind Queen is injured right now. This is the perfect opportunity to take it down and gather data. Besides, the threat level of this aberrant nest has already been raised to medium, maybe even high. If we succeed, It'll count as completing a mission above our pay grade, and we'll rake in a lot more benefits. At that same moment, back at the Special Response Team headquarters, Chief of Staff Tong Lim stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his gaze thoughtful as he looked out at the distant city. He then gave a cold order to Dong Tin, who was standing behind him. Right now, there's a major disagreement among the higher-ups. We're the only ones in upper management who hope he'll become a top-tier fighting machine. The others want to turn him into a lab rat for those damn mad scientists. Tong Lim turned around, his stern gaze boring into his subordinate as he gave a specific warning. Ngim Hao is special. I want you to keep a very close eye on him. Suddenly, the communication device on Dong Tin's hip let out a series of urgent beeps, signaling an emergency alert. Seeing this, Tong Lim motioned to pause their conversation so Dong Tin could take the report. Dong Tin quickly answered his device, his expression twisted in horror after hearing the news. What did you just say? The threat level of the aberrant nest Ngim Hao's team is at has jumped from low level to high level? Wait, Ngim Hao and Kim Wan are both there? And they've already gone inside? They're just charging in recklessly. What are they thinking? Tong Lim, standing beside him, remarked thoughtfully, That girl, Kim Wan, she may seem mischievous and reckless, but she's actually very meticulous. She wouldn't just rush into a life-or-death situation. There's something more to this. At this, Tong Lim raised a hand and gave a stern command. Dispatch the nearest Sihuyet squad for backup. Tong Yi will lead. Deploy immediately. Primary objective, ensure the safety of Ngim Hao and Kim Wang. Secondary objective, destroy the aberrant nest. Just then, an officer named Lum Dung Tri, recently discharged from the hospital, walked in and gave a sharp salute, reporting for duty. Seeing him, Tong Lim turned to Dong Tin. I'm sending your younger brother with Tong Yi. Do you have a problem with that? After receiving a nod of agreement from Dong Tin, Tong Lim gave a direct order to Lum Dung Tri. Report to Captain Tong Yi at once. You are to serve as his adjutant and accompany him. That's an order. The younger brother, Dung Tri, immediately clicked his heels and shouted, Yes, sir! Only then did his older brother, Dong Tin, begin to vaguely understand the hidden circumstances of Ngim Hao's background. He spoke cautiously. So, you were the one who previously arranged for him to be with Tong Yi? Tong Lim didn't answer. He simply turned and waved his hand, dismissing them. But in his mind, he thought, Nier, I don't know why you're so concerned about Ngim Hao. So much. But this is all I can do for you. Back with Ngim Hao, his eyes lit up the moment he heard the words, rake in a lot more benefits. He cheerfully headed inside with Kim On, since out of the entire team, only the two of them were Sihuyet, qualified to wear the red mist-resistant combat suits. As Kim Wan ventured deeper into the cave, her eyes were glued to the indicators on her meter. She muttered her report. Energy readings are still pretty much the same as outside. But a moment ago, the Iron Wind Queen was evolving to the Overlord class, which is going to make conquering this nest much more difficult. Suddenly, Ngim Hao sensed a murderous aura. He hissed, Stop! Making Kim Wan jump. From the adjacent wall, the ferocious Iron Wind Queen burst through the rock and dirt, its face hideously contorted as if out for blood. Staring at the monster's huge, completely transformed body, Kim Wan cried out in horror, Holy crap! It's a mutated venomous armored queen! Look at that size! And that tail. This is the Overlord class. It actually completed its evolution. But Kim Wan couldn't help but wonder why things had gone so wrong. The surrounding red mist concentration is so low, there's no way it could have fueled its evolution. A second later, swarms of worker iron stingers began to appear. Once weak, scout-level venomous bees, they were now enhanced, surrounding and protecting the Iron Stinger Queen. She noticed something was wrong. Kim Wan hurriedly checked the device in her hand and was shocked to realize the truth. The concentration of the red mist here had long surpassed the warning level. Then why didn't the analyzer's alarm go off? As she finished the thought, a sharp pain shot through her body, causing Kim Wan to collapse to the ground, coughing violently in agony. Seeing her strange behavior, Ngim Hao turned back and asked with concern, Kim Wan, are you all right? With the sharp intellect of someone from the intelligence division, Kim Wan instantly understood their dire situation. She struggled to speak. This protective suit, it's been tampered with. Its effectiveness against the red mist is clearly weak. We have a mole within the blood coven. While Kim Wan was writhing in pain, Ngim Hao spotted a barrage of attacks from the worker iron stingers. They were rushing in like a storm. Without a moment's hesitation, he grabbed her hand and pulled her into a desperate sprint. As they fled, Ngiem Hao thought to himself, I was just getting bored from not having any red mist to absorb. And this is like a delicious meal serving itself up on a platter, but first I have to get Kim Oan to safety. Otherwise, with things like this, I won't be able to fight with a clear conscience. After some maneuvering, Ngiem Hao kicked down a barrier wall in front of them, entering a rocky alcove to assess the situation. Feeling it was temporarily safe, he ordered, We'll hide in here for now. It's sheltered and well ventilated here. You should be able to hold on for a while. Kim Oan, contact headquarters, request reinforcements, and prepare new protective gear. I'll go back and hold them off. Kim Oan managed a weak smile and gave a thumbs up.
Leave it to this young lady. I'll send them the latest data from here.
Watching Ngiem Hao's back disappear into the distance, Kim Oan worriedly called out after him. She put her hands on her hips, pointed at him, and threatened, Ngiem Hao, if you don't come back, even if I have to go down to the underworld, I will never forgive you. Ngiem Hao's lips curled into an arrogant smirk, treating the life-or-death situation before him as nothing more than a thrill ride. He called back, Don't you worry. I'll definitely be back soon. Leaving the hiding spot, Ngiem Hao strode directly into the main nest of the Iron Stinger swarm. By absorbing the red mist along the way, the energy in his body had recovered significantly. Facing the massive army of beasts surrounding him from all sides, he didn't show the slightest bit of fear. Ngiem Hao raised his arm, concentrating all his energy into his palm. His mind was resolute. This time, just like my promise to Teo Tweet, I absolutely will not fail. Ngiem Hao raised the blazing, swirling ball of red energy in his hand, preparing to unleash the ultimate technique of his Overlord-class insect armor, the energy cannon. His face became extremely serious. He knew that the remaining red mist in his body was only enough to fire this shot a single time. He lowered his hand, aiming straight at the target with iron resolve. With the detonation of his Crimson Tyrant Blast technique, a terrifying shockwave erupted from the energy ball, shooting straight towards the Iron Stinger swarm. An earth-shattering explosion rang out. Blazing red light dyed the entire space. The blast's momentum tore through the darkness, punching a massive hole in the cavern wall. He stood amidst the thick dust and smoke after the explosion. Ngiem Hao mumbled hopefully, Did it work? However, from beneath his feet, waves of red mist began to churn and rise once more, and with them, the Iron Stinger swarm emerged, completely unharmed. Pairs of blood-red eyes gleamed in the darkness. They stared at him, filled with hatred. Seeing this, Ngiem Hao could only laugh bitterly at his miserable fate. Are you kidding me? Flashback to 3 minutes earlier. Kim Wan was busy dismantling the analyzer piece by piece. She cursed in frustration. Just as I thought, the analysis device was tampered with. After she fixed it, the device's screen suddenly lit up, and a piercing alarm blared. Danger! Danger! Red mist concentration exceeds permissible levels! Kim Wan gritted her teeth. She saw the displayed number was already double the warning threshold. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind slammed into her, forcing her to cover her head with her arms. When the wind died down, she looked up. She discovered the wind came from the explosion outside. Kim Oan stepped to the cave entrance to observe the situation and gasped, Oh no, this explosion made the red mist even denser. An iron stinger zipped past her line of sight. Kim Oan ducked behind a crevice, observing and silently assessing. By absorbing the high-concentration red mist, the worker iron stingers have evolved rapidly. Even the lowest scout-level ones have evolved to the fierce hound class. Meanwhile, Ngiem Hao, having completely exhausted his energy reserves, had no choice but to engage in close quarters, hand-to-hand combat with each monster. As he fought, he tried to absorb the small amount of newly generated red mist. He barely managed to mutate one of his arms to defend himself. Watching the ferocious iron stingers charge at him, wave after relentless wave, he cursed under his breath, Damn it! Why are there more of them the more I fight? On top of that, their strength is clearly increasing. Even with the red mist around, my own recovery speed can't keep up. With the amount of energy I'm expending to fight. An iron stinger charged forward, ramming him head-on and knocking him backward. It was followed by a barrage of green attacks. 6 signs of their venom, flying at him relentlessly. He knew that if this dragged on, he would eventually die from exhaustion. From a distance, Kim Oan also grasped the critical situation. She silently cheered for her teammate to hang on. Suddenly, she noticed red streaks appearing on Ngiem Hao's neck, a symptom of red mist corrosion. She also realized his protective suit was completely destroyed. Kim Oan quickly raised the analyzer to take a reading and was horrified to see the number was still climbing. "He's about to lose control!" With no time to think, Kim Oan reached back, activating her wind-based abilities with the goal of blowing away the toxic mist surrounding Ngiem Hao. She yelled, "Wind pressure shot!" A swirling ball of wind shot towards Ngiem Hao. When it reached the right position, Kim Oan raised her hand as if activating a detonator. She whispered,
Seize the moment. Now is the time.
She swiped her hand down. The ball of wind instantly expanded, creating a hurricane that completely blew away the red mist around Ngiem Hao. Ngiem Hao had been intently absorbing the red mist to recover. Suddenly, his food source was cut off. He stared blankly at the energy ball that had just exploded, unable to tell if it was reinforcement or a sneak attack from an enemy. Watching all his hard work gathering energy vanish into thin air, Ngiem Hao was frozen to the spot, his face slack-jawed as he screamed internally, "Holy crap! Which bastard just blew away all the red mist? What about the power I was in the middle of building up?" While he was still reeling from that heart-stopping shock, the swarm of thornwinds arched their bodies, building momentum. Aiming their venomous stingers at him, ready to send him to the next life, Ngiem Hao was struck with absolute terror as he saw the deadly barrage about to rain down on him in that life-or-death moment. He managed to mutate his two arms just in time to block. Although he deflected the attack, the impact was so powerful that it sent him flying back a great distance. He looked at the puncture wounds from the spines piercing his arm guards, which were now emitting thick green smoke. He shuddered, realizing the venom had a powerful paralyzing effect. Suddenly, a chill ran down his spine as a series of sneak attacks came at him from behind. Ngiem Hao sensed the danger, but the paralysis left him helpless, with no way to dodge. Just as his life was hanging by a thread, a figure smashed through the wall from outside. The figure rushed in, shielding him and deflecting the deadly barrage of attacks. Ngiem Hao stared wide-eyed at his savior, exclaiming in surprise, "Adjutant Lin, why are you here?" The newcomer was none other than Lin Yongji, the younger brother of Yongxin, a C-rank blood warrior, power type, basic ability, body enhancement, derived abilities, hardening, and supersense, source beast core, overlord class iron elephant. Lin Yongji quickly replied, "The battle isn't over yet." As the ferocious swarm of thornwinds charged forward, preparing for a group assault, but just a second later, streaks of purple lightning tore through the air, striking and taking them down one by one, causing them to explode on the spot. The one who had just attacked was Song Rui, a C-rank blood warrior, elemental type, basic ability, electromagnetism, derived abilities, thunderstrike, super railgun, armor penetration, and magnetization. Source beast core, Colossus class wheel beast. But Ngiem Hao was once again taken by surprise. He wondered, "Captain Song, why are you here too?" Song, shouldering her rifle, calmly replied, "We received orders from headquarters to provide support for you guys." Then she raised her hand and shouted a command. "All units advance, wipe out this thornwind swarm." Along with a thunderous response, the subordinates from the rear immediately rushed forward with flamethrowers in hand. Song continued to give decisive orders. "Team A, use high heat to suppress the path ahead. Team B, provide covering fire for the middle of the road." The soldiers immediately obeyed, unleashing long streams of fire to suppress the thornwind swarm. Song turned to Lin. "Adjutant, fall back to rest and reorganize your gear." The two didn't hesitate and started running, replying as they went, "Understood, Captain Song." At that same moment, the Overlord-class Thornwind Queen arched its tail. It was preparing to attack. A blazing red energy beam shot forward, moving so fast the soldiers with the flamethrowers didn't even have time to realize what it was. The attack headed straight for Lin Yongji, causing someone nearby to instinctively yell, "Adjutant Lin, look out!" Song remained calm, raising her rifle and taking aim as a powerful electrical charge built up in the barrel. Song spoke coldly. "Don't look back. Just keep retreating." After charging her energy to the maximum, she activated her skill, Electronic Annihilation Lightning. It possessed the ability to destroy and paralyze any object within its effective range. The powerful energy beam instantly disintegrated the Thornwind's attack and continued straight on into the Overlord-class beast. Witnessing the creature take the full force of the lightning strike, the soldiers below cheered in unison. "Look! Captain Song's attack! I think it hit!" "Wait a minute, that physique. This is the Overlord-class queen mentioned in the intel researcher Kim sent us." The beast, sensing it was no match, immediately shot upwards, trying to escape. Remnant sparks of electricity still danced across its body from the attack. Song stated confidently, "My attack paralyzed it. It won't get far. Exterminate the surrounding thornwinds. Prioritize the rescue mission." But Ngame Hao, having witnessed the entire display, whispered in awe, "So, Songroy is this strong?" Yongji, who was beside him, explained, "The last time she was in Crimson Core City, she didn't bring her primary combat gear or wear her protective suit, so she couldn't fight at full strength." Song walked over and asked, "Where's Kim Oan?" Ngame Hao immediately pointed and replied, "She's over there." Instead of thanking the support team for arriving just in time, Kim Oan put her hands on her hips and yelled, "Song, you block of ice! 10 more minutes and you would have been scraping this young lady's corpse off the floor. When we get back, your ladyship, remember to treat me to a meal. You still owe me for saving you last time." A soldier, having completed his task, ran up and reported, "Captain Song, the mission to rescue the injured is complete." "What are our next orders?" Song replied curtly, "Eliminate the remaining thornwinds. Eradicate every threat from this beast tide." While the group was discussing their next move, Ngim Hao snuck away to the back. He silently began to absorb some of the red mist's energy, standing greedily amidst the fog. He absorbed the streams of red gas around him, lamenting the crystal core that had slipped away. He thought to himself, to think that barrage from before couldn't even take down that overlord. I have to try again. After filling his tank, Ngim Hao raised his arm, feeling the fresh streams of energy coursing through his body. He suddenly noticed that the red mists, were moving unusually, as if gathering at a single point. Similarly, the entire team also detected the strange movement of the mist. Everyone suddenly looked up in the same direction. It was the Overlord-class Thornwind Queen. It had returned. It was frantically absorbing all the red mist into its body. Looking at its ferocious face, it was gritting its teeth, enduring the pain of its body's transformation. Kim Oan exclaimed in shock, "This move! Is it trying to force an evolution? That's impossible. It was just a moment ago. That it evolved into an overlord!" 4 sounds from the detector continuously blared an emergency warning. "Danger! Danger! The red mist is about to break through to level 4. Something feels strange." Jinying wondered, where on earth is this red mist coming from? Could this tide beast actually be a high-level one? The Ironwind Queen opened its disgusting mouth full of sharp teeth and let out a piercing scream. The very next second, a swarm of Ironwind drones rushed forward, surrounding the entire squad to buy time for the Queen to focus on leveling up. A panicked soldier reported, "Captain Tong, a swarm of 7 Direhound-class bees has appeared behind us." Seeing the dire situation, Yan Hao immediately leaped high into the air while shouting, "Everyone, handle the worker bees! I have a way to deal with the Queen." Hearing this, Tongrui immediately gave an order to control the situation. "All units, listen up! Attack the worker bees and provide cover for Yan Hao!" He leaped from one adjacent wall to another in a zigzag pattern. He flew straight up to confront the beast head-on, determined to eliminate this monster once and for all. If he didn't, everyone here would die. Yan Hao mutated his arm, launching a flurry of claw attacks, but he couldn't even leave a single scratch on the hard armor of the Ironwind Queen. Realizing his mutated hands weren't enough, he used his energy to condense a sphere in his hand. Yan Hao threw the sphere right in front of the beast's face. Then he quickly landed on the ground. At the same time, a world-shattering explosion erupted. He watched the situation within the smokescreen seriously, unsure if the attack had even injured it. From within the smoke, the monster dove down at lightning speed. The attack shot straight towards him, but Yan Hao dodged it with ease. At the same time, he silently assessed the situation. His own abilities weren't enough to inflict a fatal wound. He had to find a weapon hard enough to pierce its defenses. As soon as he thought this, his eyes fell upon the spot where the Ironwind had just attacked. Sharp spikes that had been shot from its body had appeared there. He was certain these spikes could pierce the beast's own defenses. Yan Hao immediately picked one up. Using his beast transformation ability, he enveloped the spike, turning it into a sharp sword. Facing the beast's next barrage of attacks, he lightly stepped on each spike, closing the distance step by step. He sliced a spike, blocking his path in 2, gritted his teeth, and channeled all the remaining red bone energy in his body into the sword. Looking at the Iron Wind's face, bearing its large, sharp fangs, he scoffed, "Since you were so kind as to give me a weapon, I'll prepare a gift in return for you." Yan Hao gripped the sword with both hands, preparing to unleash his red mist slash. A razor-sharp cut descended from the top of the beast's head, instantly splitting the Iron Wind Queen's body into two halves. Along with the explosion that erupted from the beast's corpse, Yanhao slammed the sword into the ground to stay upright, completely exhausted but forcing himself not to collapse. From within the smoke, a crystal core glowing with a red light appeared. Yanhao instantly forgot all his fatigue, his eyes completely focused on the treasure before him. The moment it fell within his reach, he lunged forward and snatched it with incredible speed, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. Yanhao clenched his hand and began to absorb the crystal core. Immediately after, the core inside his own body reacted violently. Because the energy in the Iron Wind's crystal core was too powerful, it filled the energy channels in his body in an instant. The next second, waves of blazing red energy radiated out from his body. The pain felt like every fiber of his being was about to explode. Yanhao thought to himself, "No, I can't hold on much longer." But nearby, a bolt of electricity shot out, finishing off the remaining Iron Wind drones. Yongji reported, "Captain Tong, all the bees have been eliminated." Jinying wondered, "Why do they suddenly feel weaker?" Seeing that the battlefield was clear, Tong Rui immediately ordered, "Provide support to Yanhao at once." As soon as his name was mentioned, everyone turned to look in the direction where he had been fighting, only to see Yanhao lying motionless on the ground, unconscious. Tong Rui couldn't help but worry, his voice filled with panic. "Yanhao!" Soon, Yanhao was brought in for a full examination. Jin Ying looked at the data on the computer and reported, "Heart rate is too fast, neural signals are disrupted. He's had too much exposure to the red mist, and there's a chance he might lose his sanity completely." Hearing this, Tong Rui immediately ordered, "Adjutant Lin, use the mobile medical pod to block his neural transmission." A moment later, at the temporary encampment outside the Beast Tide Zone, Yanhao was placed inside the mobile medical pod. The guard on duty ran over anxiously to ask Adjutant Lin, "What's wrong with Brother Yan? Will he be okay?" Yongji replied reassuringly, "He's fine for now." Tong Rui turned to direct Jin Ying, "You're a professional technician, so I'm putting you in charge of adjusting the parameters and monitoring the medical pod." Jin Ying was busy connecting to the pod. Adjusting the data, she replied, "Okay." As the pod's lid closed, an announcement sounded. "Medical pod activated, commencing anesthetic injection." Seeing that the situation was temporarily stable, Jin Ying said worriedly to Tong Rui, "For now, we can only suppress it temporarily. We need to get back to headquarters for proper treatment as soon as possible." Tong Rui nodded, "I know." Meanwhile, in the depths of his mind, Yanhao was confronting his own mutated self. The mutated Yanhao with its hideous monster body was choking him. Lifting the human form Yanhao into the air, its voice completely corrupted, "Give me your body. Just embrace the beast within, Mom." A flood of memories returned. Images of his parents and Xiao Shui flickered before him. He muttered in despair, "Am I about to die?" "I'm sorry, Mom, Dad. Xiao Shui, is this how it all ends?" Suddenly, the image of his parents appeared clearly, along with their warm words of advice. "Take good care of your little sister. Son, you have to live a good life." Another familiar voice rang out. "You have to promise me." Shoshuo stood before him, her hands clasped to her chest, her eyes full of worry. "You have to come back safely." Then, the familiar faces of his teammates flashed by. They placed their trust in him. "Yanhao, you are a strong warrior. The fight isn't over yet. Get up." "Brother Yan, you can definitely do it." "I forbid you from giving up like this. Wake up, Yanhao! Yanhao!" He instantly regained consciousness, realizing he was on the brink of death. It's not like he ever really left. He let out a heart-wrenching scream as iron chains materialized from the void, binding the mutated Yanhao's body and hoisting him into the air. Yanhao thought to himself, "No, it's not over yet. I have to survive. I have to find Xiao Shui. I want to protect everyone around me. I absolutely cannot fall here." At this thought, he pointed directly at his mutated alter ego and declared forcefully, "This isn't just my responsibility, it's yours too." With that, he spread his two arms wide across his chest. A blinding red energy emanated from him, slowly drawing the mutated Yanhao back into his body. After the fusion process was complete, a transformed crystal core appeared right on his chest. Yanhao gave a faint smile, his eyes like he was meeting an old friend. "So this is the price of becoming stronger, huh?" Every time I break through to a new crystal core level, it feels like I'm running laps around the abyss. Back in reality, Yan Hao had regained consciousness. He could feel his own pulse, but he couldn't move a muscle. His mind screamed, "Something's wrong. Why can't I open my eyes? My body won't move either." Outside, the convoy, on its way back to headquarters, ran into a violent sandstorm. Inside the vehicle, the soldier driving warned anxiously, "The sandstorm's so bad I can't see the road. It's too dangerous to keep driving like this." Lin Yongji came up with a temporary plan and turned to ask for Song Rui's opinion. "Captain Song, there's an ancient city ruin about 3 kilometers from here. How about we take shelter there for now?" Song Rui didn't make an immediate decision. She turned to ask Jin Ying, "What's Yan Hao's condition right now?" Jin Ying, who was glued to the monitor tracking his stats 24/7, answered immediately, "His vital signs have temporarily stabilized, but he hasn't regained consciousness." Hearing this, Song Rui immediately ordered Yongji, "Adjutant Lin, head for the ancient ruins, inform the vehicles behind us to follow." And so, the entire convoy entered the nearby ruins. Before them were once bustling buildings, now abandoned and dilapidated due to the harsh climate. After the vehicles came to a complete stop, Song Rui announced loudly, "Everyone, disembark and rest!" However, her instincts told her something was wrong. She immediately began to take control of the situation. "Jin Ying, something's not right around here." Immediately scan the environment for structural stability of the ruins, red mist concentration, and heat signals. Jin Ying quickly replied, "Understood." Song Rui continued to order her subordinates, "Protect him well. That is the top priority of this mission." 4 soldiers replied in unison without hesitation, "Yes, ma'am." While the team got to work high above, figures in black cloaks were smiling sinisterly. Wielding poisoned weapons a second later, a volley of poisoned arrows cut through the air, raining down from behind. The surprise attack left the team with no time to react. Not until a corporal was hit and screamed in pain did they realize. Lin Yongji, stunned, recognized the ambush. He activated his hardening ability and yelled a warning, "Enemy attack! Take cover!" Jin Ying quickly ducked behind a military vehicle. Seeing the arrows sticking into the ground and the green foam bubbling on the vehicle's body, she immediately analyzed and reported, "These arrows are coated with a corrosive substance from poison wasps." Suddenly, a huge boulder fell from above. Song Rui instantly ordered everyone to scatter while she rushed forward, kicking the medical cabin that was keeping Yan Hao alive out of the danger zone. She activated her electric ability, launched herself into the air, and shattered the massive boulder into pieces. Yongji rushed to shield Jin Ying, shouting, "Xiao Ying, watch out! Flying debris!" Jin Ying instinctively raised her tablet to cover her face, letting out a sharp scream. Immediately after, all the remaining enemies in the ruins swarmed out, surrounding the team from the upper floors down to the ground. A leader shouted, "Don't let them escape! Capture them all!" The ones on the upper floors threw down bottles of liquid, laughing hideously. "First, have a taste of this." Watching the bottles shatter on the ground and release plumes of green smoke, Song Rui wondered, "What is this?" But she immediately recognized the danger and shouted a warning, "This is bad. It's fluid from an Overlord-class creature. This gas has a powerful paralyzing effect." But there was no time for the team to regroup. The black-cloaked figures, their faces filled with malice, charged forward. A large, blindfolded man with bulging muscles carrying a huge axe leaped at Song Rui, laughing gleefully. "Ha ha! Hand over all your stuff!" But Captain Song Rui wasn't one to be trifled with. Song Rui reacted instantly, planting one hand on the ground for support. She activated her electric ability and delivered a lightning kick to the butcher's stomach. The powerful blow sent him flying, embedding him deep into a wall, creating a large crater. Suddenly, a grappling hook shot out and latched onto the medical cabin. Song Rui noticed and was about to rush to save Yan Hao, but her body suddenly went numb. She collapsed to the ground in shock. The black-cloaked figures on the other end of the line laughed with delight at their prize. They celebrated loudly. "We've hooked it! Quick, pull it up!" Those guys were trying so hard to protect this metal box. There must be something good inside. Jin Ying ran over, her face a mask of extreme worry, reaching out as if to hold Yan Hao back, but an arrow pierced through her calf. Jin Ying crumpled to the ground, but she ignored the profusely bleeding wound, her eyes still glued to the cabin as it was being dragged away. She screamed, "Yan Hao!" At the same time, inside the medical cabin, a strange pattern of brilliant red light began to glow on his chest, After the black-cloaked figures left and the paralyzing toxin gradually wore off, Jin Ying, in pain, trembled as she stood up, leaning against a nearby pillar. She mumbled, "I have to go save Yan Hao." Song Rui came over to calm her down and give her first aid. "Bear with the pain. Save your strength." Despite her calm exterior, Song Rui couldn't escape the feeling of failure. Humiliated. Not only had Yan Hao been captured, but Jin Ying was also injured. Song Rui snapped the arrow in two to make it easier to remove. After confirming the arrow wasn't poisoned, she bandaged the wound to stop the bleeding and instructed her, "This is all I can do for now. Don't move around too much or you'll tear the wound open." But Jin Ying wasn't concerned about her injury. She was thinking about the attack and spoke up. "Before we arrived, those black-cloaked figures had already set up an AM. They were waiting for us. This is really strange. How did they know our plan of action?" After cleaning up, Dung Tree ran to report to Captain Tong. "The scene has been cleared. Most of the bandits escaped while we were paralyzed by the poison." Tong too deduced, "There's a massive sandstorm outside, so they couldn't have taken Ngim Hao overland. They must have moved underground." Dung Tree continued his report. "We found an abandoned elevator. Our initial investigation suggests it might be the entrance to their hideout." As soon as he finished, Tong Tu immediately gave an order. "Assemble the team." After gathering everyone still fit for combat, Tong Tu began the briefing. "This time, we're up against human combatants. Our main objective is to rescue Ngim Hao. Team A, block the exit and protect Kim Wan and Adjutant Lum. Team B, you're with me. We're going down. This mission must be a success." Failure is not an option. The soldiers stood at attention, hands clasped behind their backs, and replied in unison, "Yes, sir." However, the guard, who was Ngim Hao's friend, was not satisfied with his assignment. He stepped forward to address Captain Tong. "Please take me with you." Tong Tu firmly refused. "Absolutely not. You're not a combatant. The situation below could be extremely dangerous. You and Kim Wan will stay with Team A to secure the exit. They will protect you." Hearing this, the guard refused to give up. "Ngim Hao is my brother. Besides, he saved my life once. He's in danger now and I can't just sit back and wait." Seeing the determination in his eyes, Tong Tu reluctantly nodded in agreement. "All right, fine. In that case, stick close to me. Do not get separated from the squad." The guard replied cheerfully, "Sir!" At that same moment, in a deep underground basement, the black-cloaked bandits were surrounding the medical pod. They chattered among themselves. "This iron coffin is damn heavy. What in the world is inside? Who cares? If the military was transporting it in an armored vehicle, then it's got to be good stuff." The bandit leader strode forward, wielding a giant axe, and roared at his men to get out of the way. He raised the axe, his eyes glinting with murderous intent. He didn't care in the slightest if he damaged the item inside. He swung down hard. An ear-splitting shriek of metal on metal rang out, but the axe couldn't even leave a scratch on the pod's titanium shell. The leader furiously threw the axe to the ground. He kicked the pod hard, cursing, "What the hell is this damn thing? It's tougher than a safe. We've used crowbars and sledgehammers, and we can't even make a scratch on it." A blond man in the crowd raised his hand. "Let me open it," he offered. "But you have to let me go below." A vein bulged on the leader's forehead as he yelled, "What kind of nonsense is that? It's a one-way trip to death down there. The last 3 guys who went down still haven't dragged their asses back." The others nearby chimed in, mocking him. "Yeah, stop daydreaming, kid. Not even a cockroach can survive down there." The blond man calmly retorted, "I've seen it. There is a key to open it. Want to make a bet?" The leader grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up menacingly. "What? Who the hell do you think you are, huh?" But the blond man was not afraid, his gaze unwavering. "If I can open it, you let me go down. If I can't, my corpse stays here. Do whatever you want with it." The leader growled, "If you're trying to pull a fast one, I swear I'll send you to meet your ancestors." Meanwhile, inside the pod, Ngim Hao had regained consciousness, though he was still feeling the effects of the anesthetic. He realized he was in the enemy's den. As he felt the pod being carried toward a deep pit, he understood that his sensory abilities had increased significantly after his core had leveled up. Not only could he clearly perceive everything around him, but he could also sense deep into the earth below. In his mindscape, Ngim Hao stood before chains of upgraded genetic code swirling around a red energy vortex. Red core level, 4. Red mist. Reserve, 67%. Post-evolution abilities. Bestial Claws, Bestial Binds. Post-plunder abilities, Red Mist Bomb, Poison Gland. He immediately recognized the Poison Gland ability. It must be the prize from devouring that thick-fong queen. At that moment, the bandits carried the pod down into the deep pit. Scattered before their eyes were the skeletons of giant beasts. The blond man led the way, pointing to a rib bone of the largest skeleton. "It's right here. This is the key." The leader didn't forget to threaten him. "Don't even think about pulling any funny business, kid." The blond man stepped inside the skeleton and directed the underlings to place the pod nearby. The leader ordered, "Bring the iron box over here."
"You little brat! This key of yours had better work or else—"
Before he could finish his sentence, a loud explosion erupted from within the pod, sending its lid flying. The leader, holding a beast's claw, was startled and spun around. The explosion created a thick cloud of smoke, obscuring everyone's vision. The underlings panicked. "Boss, the box opened on its own!" From within the smoke, Ngim activated the poison gland ability he had just acquired. He raised his hand, and a green mist emanated from his palm. The nearby bandits who inhaled the poisonous mist immediately writhed in pain, dark purple veins bulging all over their bodies. One of them, foaming at the mouth, tried to gasp out a warning. "Poison! This mist is poisoned!" The smoke gradually cleared, and Ngim stepped out, his face blackened by soot, with wisps of poisonous gas swirling around him. He silently assessed the new ability's effectiveness. Not bad. Quite useful as a supportive skill for crowd control. The leader stared in astonishment. Holy shit! There was a living person inside that box! The more he spoke, the more furious he became, roaring, "Don't tell me you deliberately let us capture you! Was it all just to infiltrate our lair?" Ngim was speechless at his wild imagination. He frowned and shot back, "What the hell are you babbling about?" The leader, veins popping on his face, pounded his chest and threatened confidently. "I used to be a grade D warrior. Taking down a punk like you is as easy as squashing an ant. How dare you play tricks on me? Die!" With that, he lunged forward, swinging his sharp beast claw at him. Just as the claw was about to hit, Ngim activated his venom gland ability. He swung his hand and slapped him right across the face, not forgetting to mock, "Grade D, is this all you've got?" He was sent flying, tearing up the ground and kicking up a cloud of dust before slamming into a stone wall. The wall shattered from the powerful impact, creating a huge hole. A terrified scream came from the side. Ngim turned his head, surprised. "There's still one left?" Then he flashed a friendly smile with his blood-red eyes and asked, "You want to have a go too?" Seeing that demonic face, the blond guy fainted from sheer terror. Seeing him unconscious, Ngim looked around, thinking to himself, in a desert place like this, and there are so many skeletons of giant beasts. He picked up the leader's claw to examine it. These skeletons are covered in wounds. It seems these beasts didn't die here naturally. Someone must have deliberately brought them here to slaughter each other, just like trapping creatures in a jar to fight to the death. Suddenly, Ngim heard a familiar sound echoing from a distance. He was surprised to recognize Tong Yui's voice, even though she was 10 floors away. Ngim crushed the claw in his hand, a nostalgic smile on his face. That girl's fiery temper hasn't changed a bit. At the same time, upstairs, the bandits were panicking, firing wildly at the blood-core soldier, Dung Tree, who had a hardening ability. He charged straight into the hail of bullets, terrifying them into shouting, "Holy shit! We're up against a monster!" Bullets couldn't even pierce him! Out of tricks, the bandits could only watch helplessly as Dung Tree rushed in, delivering thunderous kicks to their faces. After clearing the battlefield and setting fire to the bandits' filthy belongings, a soldier reported, "Captain Tong, this area has been suppressed, but we still haven't found the medical cabin containing Ngim. Tong Yui ordered them to continue the search. Dung Tree led her to a wall with beast tracks on it and reported, "There are beast tracks everywhere. It seems there's a big secret hidden here." Then the guard called out to Tong Yui, "Captain Tong, the tracker Sister Kim gave me has detected Ngim down here." But just a moment ago, the signal suddenly disappeared. Hearing the signal was gone, Tong Yui's expression turned grim with worry. The medical pod must have been destroyed. Ngim could be in danger now. While she was fretting, a figure flickered into view behind her. It was Ngim carrying the unconscious blonde guy under his arm. Wearing a tattered shirt he'd borrowed from the bandits, he gave a rugged military salute. "Is everyone all right?" Tong Yui, both relieved and worried, barraged him with questions. Ngim Hao, are you okay? What on earth happened down there? He looked down into the deep pit and replied, Below is probably an abandoned beast-fighting arena. Hearing this, Dung Tree suggested to Captain Tong, Perhaps we should investigate this. Tong Nui replied cautiously, Let's withdraw first. We'll arrange an investigation when we get back. A soldier named Kong Vu pointed at the blonde guy under Ngim Hao's arm. He asked, Ngim Hao, who's this kid? Just then, the blonde guy woke up and struggled out of his grip. He suddenly pulled out a hidden dagger and lunged at Ngim Hao, screaming, Die! But Ngim Hao didn't even bother to dodge. He just stood there, letting him strike. The moment the dagger touched his steel-hard scales, it shattered into pieces, which he had formed with a partial beast transformation right at the point of impact. His face darkened. He crushed the remaining hilt in his hand and growled threateningly, You really want to die that badly, don't you? The guy screamed frantically, You soldiers! You're all bastards! Ngim Hao grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up. Suddenly, patches of bright red appeared on his face, and his eyes began to mutate. He knocked him out, thinking to himself, These are classic symptoms of red mist infection. Just as the blonde guy slumped to the ground, Kang Vu noticed a metal plate fall out beside him. He picked it up curiously and read, Squad 7, Redstone Patrol, a THAC. Hey, this is my comrade's identification. Tong Nui took the plate, observed it closely, and analyzed. The person in the photo is much older than him, but their eyebrows are very similar. Could they be brothers? Then, she ordered the whole team to withdraw. This kid's condition isn't stable. Let's take him back for treatment first and investigate later. Ngim Hao sneakily reached a hand behind his back, touching the blonde guy and secretly calculating. His contamination seems to be in the early stages. If I absorb the red mist energy from his body, he might still be saved. At the Blood Corps barracks of the Lake City Special Response Team, a guard saw the gate open and turned to his comrade, ordering, They're back. Quick, go report to young Master Trung. As soon as they stepped into the camp, Tong Nui immediately directed Adjutant Lum, Take Kim Wan to the treatment room at once. Dung Tree acknowledged the order and helped Kim Wan away. Over on the other side, Ngim Hao was suddenly blocked by a group of soldiers. The one in the lead said, Excuse me, you two. According to the latest quarantine regulations, all personnel returning from the Red Mist Zone are high risk and must be quarantined immediately. He frowned, wondering, why wasn't there a rule like this before? The soldier maintained a deadpan expression and replied, This is an order from our superiors. Please cooperate by removing all your clothing for disinfection and a full inspection. Seeing this from a distance, Tong Nui angrily strode over. She shouted, This so-called order from your superiors, who issued it? I am their commander. Get your superior over here to see me now. Just then, Trung Tun swaggered forward. His tone was full of condescension. Who's refusing to cooperate with the inspection? Seeing Tong Nui, he feigned surprise. Oh, so it's Captain Tong. A misunderstanding. But inside he was fuming, afraid his revenge plan would be ruined. He thought to himself, why did Tong Nui have to come back with Ngim Hao? Tong Nui asked in a stern voice. Did you order these logistics soldiers to do this? Truong Tan stepped in front of Ngim Hao, his voice dripping with sarcasm. I'm responsible for the quarantine and safety of the new recruits. Captain Tong and Researcher Kim are both veterans on the team. Since they're special cases, they obviously don't need our inspection. Ngim Hao, this is for the good of the entire camp. I expect you to cooperate. A second later, Tong Nui's aura turned murderous as she threatened him coldly. We don't need your permission. Just who do you think you are around here? It's not your place to speak. Seeing her overwhelming presence, a frightened Trong Tan stammered, Tong Nui ignored him and turned to lead her team away. Just ignore him. But Trong Tan wouldn't let it go. He pointed at the unfamiliar blonde man being helped along. He yelled, Hold it! Are you really planning to bring that filthy thing into our camp? Kang Vu spun around and snapped, He's not a thing. He's my teammate's little brother. Hearing this, he smugly gave his order. So he's with the patrol team, is he? Garbage belongs in the garbage dump. Seize him! Immediately, his two lackeys aimed their guns at the group, causing Kang Vu to yell in fury. Truong Tan jutted out his chin defiantly. What's wrong? Are you planning on defying a direct order? Just as Tong Nui was about to step in, Ngim Hao suddenly raised a hand to stop her. At that moment, Ngim Hao's poison gland ability activated in his arm. He said coldly, Let me handle this. He then walked over, placed a hand on Trong Tan's shoulder, and advised him gently, Trong Tan, put your hand down. He was about to retort with a sarcastic remark when his face suddenly broke out in blotchy blue and red patches. He cried out in horror, "This is poison! When did you—" Gimhao smiled and whispered in his ear, "I know you don't like me, but this little stunt of yours is truly pathetic. Put your hand down, while you still can." Seeing him writhing in agony on the ground, he added a few more taunts. "Look at you. We only exchanged a few words and you're already this exhausted?" Then, Gimhao turned to the two subordinates who were standing there dumbfounded and ordered loudly, "Your new team leader seems a little tired. Take him back so he can get some rest." After Tong Yui's team had left, the two lackeys finally dared to approach him. "Team leader, are you okay?" Trong Tan clutched his chest, cursing under his breath. "Gimhao, you're a vicious one, I'll give you that. You just wait." Once they were away from the gate, Tong Yui asked, "What did you do to him?" Gimhao shrugged. "Don't worry about it. I just gave him something that'll keep him in bed for a few days." In the medical lab, Kim Awan was giving a detailed report on the incident during Operation Iron Peak. "My combat suit was coated with a slow-acting corrosive agent, but after exposure to a high concentration of the red mist, its protective function was completely nullified." Hearing this, Tong Liam understood the situation immediately. "A mole. They didn't want you to make it back alive, Kim Wan." He looked over at Ngiem Hao. "Were you one of the targets as well?" Ngiem Hao replied grimly, "Chief of Staff, I believe I was their ultimate target. Kim Wan was just collateral damage." Tong Liam gave a decisive order. "Is that right? Until this matter is resolved, you are both suspended from all field missions." Kim An Than, looking displeased as if his prized plum wine was being threatened, warned Tong Liam from behind. "Old Tong, it seems headquarters has a festering wound that needs to be dealt with. I trust you'll assign someone reliable to protect my daughter and Ngiem Hao. If anything else goes wrong, neither of us will be able to handle the fallout." Hearing that, Tong Liam could only nod in resignation. "I know." He then turned to Tong Nui. "Nuier, during this time, your top priority is to ensure their absolute safety." Tong Nui replied with grim determination. "I understand, Father." A few days later, a frustrated Ngiem Hao sat outside, grounded by the confinement order. He mulled things over. Suspended from field duty, there's a mole in the military. Trong Tan from City A's defense force. The patrol team. What's their next move? Suddenly, Kang Vu ran up from behind, calling out urgently, "Ngiem! Ngiem!" He turned. "What is it? What's going on?" Kang Vu leaned in close and whispered, "While I was checking on that kid, I found a photograph. The girl in it. She looks exactly like your sister." Hearing this, a stunned Ngiem Hao asked loudly, "Are you serious?" In his agitation, he gripped Kang Vu's arm so tightly that he cried out in pain. "Ngim, you're gonna break it! My arm's gonna break!" The two of them rushed to the blonde man's hospital room. Kang Vu pushed open the door and asked the doctor, "How is he?" The doctor picked up the chart. "He's stable for now, but we'll need to keep him under observation. It's just, when he was brought in, the infection was extremely severe. I don't understand how it suddenly lessened so much in the past few days." Ngiem Hao walked to the bedside and said politely, "Excuse me, doctor, the rest of this is an internal Shi Shui investigation. If you would please give us some privacy." The doctor turned to leave, but added, "I know he's a raider, but the way his infection symptoms have subsided. It's highly unusual, I hope you won't—" But Ngiem Hao cut him off immediately. "I'm aware." He knew exactly why. He was the one who had absorbed the red mist from the boy's body. Holding the photo, he stared at the familiar face, a storm of complicated emotions rising within him. Xiao Shui. Suddenly, the blond man woke up. Seeing the photo in his hand, he yelled in a panic, "What do you think you're doing? That belongs to my brother." Ngiem Hao pointed to Xiao Shui's face in the picture. He demanded, "Where did you see this girl?" Though confused, the man answered honestly, "Half a year ago when I went to the refugee resettlement area." He handed the photo back and pressed on. "Where is she now?" The blond man shook his head, his voice full of despair. "I don't know." Suddenly, he began to convulse as the red mist symptoms relapsed. His face twisted in pain and he cried out deliriously, "They can't see anymore, none of them. My brother, too. He told me to wait in the city. He said he'd be right back." Seeing him struggle like that, Yan Hao suddenly felt a deep sense of empathy. Just like the blond man's older brother, he had also promised Xiao Shui that he would definitely come back for her. Kang Yu, standing beside him, added more information. "Brother Yan, Athak was sent to evacuate refugees back then, but in the middle of it, he was assigned a different mission, and then he vanished. Yanhao asked, puzzled. Vanished? But why? Why give him another mission while he was already on one? Kang Yu shook his head. I don't really get it either. To know the specifics, we'd probably have to look at the mission file from that time. Only then would we know for sure. After that, Yanhao walked over, placed his hand on the blonde man, and silently absorbed all the red mist into his own body. Witnessing this strange sight, Kang Yu was bewildered. Yanhao whispered a warning, "Don't tell anyone else about this." It was only then that it dawned on Kang Yu. So that's what it was. No wonder his infection cleared up so fast. Yanhao held up the photo and made an offer to the blonde man. I'll help you find your brother, but you have to tell me everything about you and this girl in this photo. 6 months ago. The man asked back suspiciously, If I tell you about what happened to that girl, will you really help me find my brother? Yanhao looked him straight in the eye and replied firmly, You can try trusting me. The blonde man was still a bit hesitant. What did you just do to me? But all he got was a cryptic answer. I think it'll be good for the both of us. The man then sighed and began his story. All right. Sometime later at the barracks mess hall, Yanhao and Kang Yu, after getting a lead, came here for lunch to discuss it. While eating, Kang Yu asked, Brother Yan, do you really plan on going back? Yes, Yanhao replied pensively. Of course. Xiao Shui has been missing for over half a year. I can't wait any longer. He then asked worriedly, So what about Captain Song? She said there's a mole in the army, someone who wants to hurt you. That's why she told me to stick with you and report anything back to her. Yanhao, ignoring the danger, bluntly declared, The only reason I'm here is for Xiao Shui, so no one can stop me. Suddenly, Song Rui's voice came from behind. Who said anything about stopping you? Following her was Jin Ying, who stepped out flashing a V sign and smiling mischievously. A Blood Master's top-tier healing ability really is amazing. With her hands on her hips, Song Rui suggested, Let's go somewhere else. It's not a good place to talk. Afterwards, the group went into a small private meeting room. Inside, Yanhao asked, puzzled, How did you two find out? Instead of answering, Jin Ying showed him a video of his healing session in the hospital. Seeing this, Kang Yu jumped and yelled, Jin! So you've been spying on us this whole time? Jin Ying smiled confidently and replied, Why do you have to put it so harshly? This big sister here was just protecting you all. You see, we have some internal issues right now, so there's a chance you all could get kidnapped unexpectedly. Song Rui seriously exposed her friend's act. I was the one who told Jin Ying to pull that camera footage. After you left, the doctor came and explained the situation to me. Yanhao, I'm not going to stop you. I already said I'd help you, so I hope you can trust me too. After hearing this, Yanhao stammered emotionally. Captain Song? Jin Ying, refusing to be left out, enthusiastically chimed in, Me too, you can trust me. Didn't you say you had something you needed to settle? I've got my own unique methods for that. Kang Yu also eagerly raised his hand. Brother Yan, me too. I'll always support you. Seeing that the team was assembled, Song Rui got down to business. So, Yanhao, what's your next move? Can you tell us a bit about your plan? Yes, he replied cheerfully. All right. In the ruins on the outskirts of Red Rock City, Zhang Jin, who now went by the name Zhang Shui to operate in secret, stood before a dilapidated building and read the password aloud, Nowhere to hide. From inside, a voice called out, Come in! As soon as he stepped inside, he frantically explained, I have urgent business. I need to see Boss Hong. It's about Yanhao. He's rushing from Lake City to Red Rock City right now. The moment the subordinate inside heard Yanhao's whereabouts, he immediately pulled out his phone to call, Boss Hong, we have news on Yanhao. Seeing this, Zhang Shui smirked sinisterly. He thought smugly to himself, Yanhao, ha-ha, you're finished! A few days later, at the checkpoint on the outskirts of Red Rock City, a group of heavily armed soldiers shouted an announcement by order of the city defense team. All vehicles entering or exiting must be inspected. Roll down your window so I can see your face. What's your name? What's your business here? Song Rui's group was currently sitting in their car. They observed the situation, murmuring amongst themselves, What are the members of the city defense team doing? This is so chaotic. What the hell is going on? I've never seen them so actively defending a city before. Right? Yanhao, not paying much attention, changed the subject. This car is really nice. So this is your kind of hobby, huh? Song Rui gave a wry smile and replied, This isn't a military mission, so I couldn't use an army vehicle. Using my personal car is more discreet. Kang Yu, sitting in the back, wondered aloud, "Is it really okay to leave Jin back at headquarters all by herself?" She replied nonchalantly, "I told Adjutant Lin to look after her." "It should be fine," Yan Hao added. "Kim Wan said she has her own methods to help me investigate because only the main headquarters can dispatch that thing. That's why I told her to stay. Besides, Kim Wan can support us remotely through military comms." A soldier approached from a distance, knocked on the car window, and requested a security check. Suddenly, a guard on a high tower pointed and shouted, "Mutabeasts spotted 1 kilometer out! It's a pack of ironback wolves!" Just as he finished speaking, everyone turned to see the wolf pack was already right in front of them. Seeing this, the guards didn't hesitate for a second. They turned tail and ran, screaming, "We're dead! Retreat now!" From inside the car, Song complained angrily, "These bastards, they block us here!" "And then just leave us like this?" Instantly, Yan Hao threw open the door, jumped out of the car, and yelled, "I'll handle this!" On the other side, the ironback wolves were closing in on the panicking, fleeing civilians. The fastest wolf immediately bared its sharp fangs right behind a man who couldn't keep up, causing him to scream in terror, "Help! Help me!" Yan Hao instantly transformed his arm. He lunged forward, slicing the wolf's head off in a flash. Then he stood defiantly, blocking the pack's path, and calmly advised, "If you want to live, run, now." The red-rank ironback wolves, the thick lang. Seeing their prey escape, the pack became enraged. They snarled, staring straight at him, then charged all at once, claws out, determined to tear the obstacle in their path to shreds. Looking at the familiar scene, Yan Hao suddenly remembered the first time the calamity struck. It was these same ironback wolves that first appeared before him. And after that, running for his life with Xiao Shui. Then, encountering that colossal dragon, the overlord of the skies. Remembering this, a fire of rage erupted inside Yan Hao. He unleashed a devastating lightning attack, finishing them all off in an instant, and vowed to himself, "I will not let this kind of thing ever happen again." The fleeing soldiers turned back and saw the scene, exclaiming in horror, "What kind of monster is that guy? He wiped out all those mutabeasts in a single strike." One of them recognized him and immediately ordered, "Quick! Inform Captain Zhang! That person has arrived in Redstone City!" Afterwards, Yan Hao casually returned to the car, boasting about his easy victory. Kang Yu exclaimed in awe, "Brother Yan, you're so cool, a true blood warrior." Song added, "Leave the rest to me." Then she turned and yelled, "Hey, soldiers of the Wall Defense Force over there!" Song walked over, showed them her high-level blood warrior membership card, and declared authoritatively, "I am Song squad leader of the Blood Warrior Special Response Team. I order you to immediately cease this inspection and let the civilians into the city." Later, Song asked thoughtfully, "That security check earlier, it felt like there was another reason for it. Yan Hao, what do you think?" He stroked his chin, deep in thought. It felt like they were looking for someone. But the urgent matter right now is to investigate Ashuo's mission file first. After that, they stopped at the Redstone City Wall Defense Force headquarters. In the records room, the group got to work, rummaging through every file related to an employee named Ashuo. After a while of searching, Yan Hao asked, annoyed, "This isn't it either. Why can't I find Ashuo's file?" Meanwhile, Song was checking on the computer. Suddenly, Kang Yu discovered something. He shouted, "Ashuo, Squad 7, Li Ming, Wang Qiang, none of them are here. Even the basic name roster has been removed." After finishing her computer search, Song came over to report with a grave expression, "The local database has been wiped too. There's no record of Ashuo whatsoever." Kang Yu sighed in frustration. "Was this a dead end from the start?" Yan Hao pressed. "Isn't there any other way?" But Song didn't answer. Instead, she took out her phone and called Kim Awan. After a brief discussion, Kim Awan's confident voice came through the line. "Okay, give me some time." Song turned to the other two and relayed the situation. "Kim Wan has a way to access the database files, but she needs a little time." Kang Yu was thoroughly impressed. "Wow, so Sister Kim is that amazing, huh?" Yan Hao just nodded in agreement. "She's not called Miss Know-It-All for nothing, is she?" Kang Yu suddenly remembered an important detail and quickly reported, "That's right. Captain Gu is an old veteran from the former government army. When the patrol team was first formed, he was the one who mentored Ashuo. He definitely knows about that mission from back then." Not long after, the group arrived at the private residence of Captain Gu Jun. The moment they set foot on the property, the sight that greeted them was a house completely wrecked and in disarray, as if it had just been violently ransacked. Everyone was shocked, and they began to murmur amongst themselves. Clearly, a violent struggle took place here. Based on how fresh the tracks are, the fight must have ended not long ago. Yanhao bent down, picked up a fragment, and observed it closely. Then he made a firm assessment. 8 out of 10. This was the work of the Wall Defense Force. Hearing this, Song-er was stunned. Why would the Wall Defense Force go after Gujun? Seeing her confusion, Kong Yu, who was standing nearby, spoke up to explain. Turns out, Yan Hao helped Captain Gu beat up Zhang Qi, the captain of the Wall Defense Force, a while back. Beat him so bad his face swelled up like a pig's head. So now, they're definitely here for revenge. Yan Hao immediately understood. A look of anger flashed in his eyes as he thought to himself, it seems their real target is me. That intense inspection at the city border was just a prelude to confirm whether I had entered the city or not. If that's the case, then I'll just meet them head on. Just as they stepped outside, they saw 2 men in Wall Defense Force uniforms who had been waiting there for who knows how long. One of them walked forward with a smile. He greeted them, Officer Song, we've finally found you. He then introduced himself. I am Li Ben, adjutant of the Wall Defense Force. I just received information that you've arrived in Redstone City. Captain Gu Jun of the patrol team under my jurisdiction went missing while on a mission outside the city. You want our help? Song-er frowned, his tone full of annoyance and suspicion. This is a military matter. Why come to us for help? Lehman hurriedly replied, Sir, you may not know, but the mutant beasts around the city have been very active lately. A regular army like ours can't fight them. Yan Hao, standing behind him, whispered a reminder to Captain Song. She immediately understood her comrade's meaning and nodded in reply, I know. However, Song Rui immediately laid out a condition. I'll agree to help you find them, but you have to come with us. Li Ben stammered, his hesitation obvious. That's not a good idea, is it? I'm afraid we'll just get in your way, sirs. Before he could finish his excuse, Song-er stepped forward and slapped him hard on the shoulder, his voice threatening. Are you trying to refuse? What I said wasn't a request, it was an order. If you refuse, I can have you shot for insubordination. The harsh threat terrified him. He stammered, I wouldn't dare. After that, the group got into a vehicle and headed for the outskirts of the city. Inside the car, Yan Hao began his questioning. You just said the mutant beasts have been active lately. Why would you still send Captain Gu out on a mission? Were you deliberately sending him to his death? Lehman panicked, waving his hands dismissively. How could that be? Captain Gu requested the mission himself. The car stopped in a desolate, deserted area with not a soul in sight. He pointed towards the tallest building in the distance and said, It's near here. Yan Hao's brow furrowed, a sense of unease rising within him. Something's not right. He said mutant beasts are active in this area, but I can't smell the aura of the red mist. Taking advantage of everyone's distraction, Li Ben stealthily backed away, tapping his phone to send a signal, his mind racing with the need to escape this dangerous place quickly. But Kang Yu had been wary of him from the start and immediately noticed his furtive actions. He immediately approached him, asking, Vice Officer Li, what are you doing? He jumped, startled, and stammered in reply, I've already led you to the location of the incident. There's probably nothing else for me to do here, so I'll just have my men come pick me up. With that, he tried to turn and run. Please pass a message to Captain Song for me. I'll leave the search and rescue to him. I'll take my leave now. But immediately, Song-er and Yan Hao blocked his escape route. She questioned him coldly. You're not going anywhere. Tell me, what is your real purpose? Suddenly, the sky turned pitch black. Lightning began to streak across the dark heavens. Li Ben seemed to know exactly what was hiding here. He fell to the ground in terror, screaming, Oh God, that thing is coming! A bolt of lightning struck the ground right in front of the group, scaring the soul out of Li Ben. No, I don't want to die. Witnessing the scene, Yan Hao thought to himself, So that's why there isn't a single low-level mutant beast around here. It's because of its presence. Before them was a giant beast wreathed in lightning. Song-er asked, stunned, Is that a thunder beast? The thunder beast, with its blazing red eyes, looked down at the tiny prey, a cruel and gleeful smile spreading across its face. Kang Yu screamed in fear, It's Overlord class! Why did it suddenly appear here? Yan Hao remained calm, analyzing the situation. The abnormal activity of the mutant beasts, the patrol team going missing. It seems none of this was a coincidence. But in the chaos, Li Ben threw all dignity aside and bolted, running for his life. Song immediately gave the order, "Get him, don't let him escape." Kang Yu instantly gave chase, yelling, "Stop!" As he ran for his life, the man screamed back in despair, "No way, I don't want to die here!" For some reason, the mutant beast was acting strangely. Songri quickly shouted a warning, "It's gathering power! It's about to fire!" Just as the beast unleashed a destructive energy beam, Song Rui and Yan Hao reacted with lightning speed, narrowly dodging the fatal blow. A terrifying explosion erupted right behind them. Thick dust and smoke billowed up, with crackling lightning arcing everywhere. Yan Hao remarked, "Looks like getting out of here won't be easy." Song immediately laid out a plan. "Yan Hao, you hold it off first. I'm going to get the weapon from that tall building nearby." Meanwhile, a figure was leisurely observing the entire event, as if watching a live-action movie. Zhang Shui smirked. "Haha, Yan Hao, let's see how arrogant you can be this time." The subordinate standing behind him asked doubtfully, "Boss, a small device like this, can really control an overlord-class mutant beast?" He explained with relish, "Not only that, the technology behind us is beyond your imagination. They've even built an entire mutant beast base. I've seen it with my own eyes. The things being raised there aren't your ordinary mutant beasts. As long as we capture Yan Hao and hand him over to them, Chishi City will be mine for the taking." Down on the ground, Yan Hao was struggling to fight the monster while thinking, "This mutant beast is an elemental type. It relies mainly on energy to fight. In that case, the poison gland from the queen bee should be effective against an overlord-class beast too." Suddenly, the thunder beast let out a deafening roar, accompanied by a powerful magnetic field radiating outwards. Yan Hao was thrown back, and his mutated arm suddenly vanished. He thought in frustration, "My beast transformation was forcefully dispelled. This ability is just like Song Rui's EMP bomb." But while he was lost in thought, strategizing, the beast raised its claws, preparing to pounce. Fortunately, just as the attack was about to land, Yan Hao snapped back to his senses and hastily dodged it by a hair's breadth. He leaped back, his eyes fixed on the enemy after the scare. Sweat dripped from his forehead. Yan Hao let out a long breath, telling himself, "I can't let my guard down." As expected, this one is a bit different from a normal Overlord-class beast. The layer of lightning wrapped around its body makes it fundamentally impossible for me to get close. Just then, Song returned with the weapon. She came over and asked, "So as long as we can eliminate that lightning armor, we can do it?" He asked Captain Tong in surprise, "Can you really do it?" She replied confidently, "Of course. My beast core ability comes from lightning. A lightning beast's electricity can suppress surrounding particles and neutralize other abilities." Then, Tong Rui's expression turned serious. She warned, "If I use my full power to fire an annihilation bullet, I can disable the beast's lightning armor, but only for a very short time. It will recover quickly." As soon as she finished speaking, Yan Hao shot forward like an arrow. "That's enough. A split second is all I need. Leave the rest to me!" Just as he closed in on the target, the monster roared once more, activating its protective electric armor. At the same time, Tong Rui pulled the trigger. She fired an electric annihilation bullet carrying immense power. The moment Yan Hao appeared in front of the beast, Tong Rui's armor-piercing bullet arrived simultaneously. It tore through its lightning armor. Without wasting a single second, Yan Hao immediately unleashed his beast transformation claw, injecting toxins directly into its body. Then he glanced back curiously to see how the queen bee's poison shard was working. Looking at the lightning beast's current state, he was inwardly pleased. "Excellent, it's working. The poison is slowing down its movements." It was cornered. The beast frantically launched a series of attacks. Yan Hao easily dodged every blow, not forgetting to taunt, "Too slow." Then he unleashed a flurry of kicks with his sharp claws. "Die!" Yan Hao silently assessed. Although its attack power is stronger than the previous Overlord class, and after losing its lightning powers, its physical strength is far weaker than before. But still, without Tong Rui's annihilation bullet, I wouldn't have even had a chance to get close. I need to get stronger.